Alright, let's get to this. These allegations released on this speedrunner named Shayy with two Y's. It's a Deltarune and Undertale speedrunner, to my knowledge, so that's crazy. We're doing some speedrun drama. But there's a little more to it than that. The speedrunning community, I guess, is in shambles because there's actions of sexual assault, sexual harassment, grooming, orbiting fans until they're of legal age, sexual coercion, and abuse. So there is a lot going on here. I unfortunately couldn't find a good video covering all of this drama, unless I wanted to like sit through a fucking Chud Logic stream, which I don't think I'm going to be doing that. We just have to go with this document, which is over 200 pages long, which is making me groan because not too long ago I had just finished the Cinder document, which was over 1,000 pages long, and I actually got through all of it. It's a two-parter video on the channel if you're interested. I am not sure if I'm going to read every single allegation, just to be clear. I'm not sure if I'm going to read every single page of this, because there's just no way that I'm going to get through all of it. Like, I feel like it depends. I might skip some stuff depending on if it's irrelevant to the story. This is the only option we have if we want to go over the situation. This situation did look interesting, so just gotta do what we gotta do to get through it, right? Alright, preface. We, a collective group of Shayy's victims and former friends, accuse Shayy of the actions including but not limited to sexual assault, sexual harassment, grooming, orbiting fans until they're of legal age, sexual coercion, and abuse. We are releasing this document because we feel that Shayy's actions pose a present and extreme safety risk to the community such that people need to be aware to protect themselves. In this document, you will find a collection of our stories, statements, and supporting evidence to these accusations. Shayy themselves has already admitted to the actions in detail in the testimonies from Anonymous 1, Azareth, Anonymous 3, and Willie J. Willie, and to the victims themselves in private. This document contains testimonies of events that have taken place as recently as the past week, and traumatic events that the victims are processing for the first time. We'll see how valid this is. I mean, to my knowledge, everything that happened was online, but apparently there is allegations of sexual assault, so we'll see if it extended beyond online, allegedly. We've had a lot of allegations in the past that have been very terminally online and nothing burger slop, but there have been a lot of allegations this year that have came out that wound up being true, so this could be one of those situations. I guess we'll find out. While we recognize the importance of timeliness and have done our best to compile this document quickly, we have chosen to prioritize the safety of victims such that they can process what was done to them without needless cruelty of forcing them to tell their stories to us, let alone to the public before they were ready. I guess that's fair enough if you want to keep some of them anonymous. That's kind of what that reads to me as. Frankly, even if just the sheer amount of corroborating accounts that were shared with us just over the past few days made it impossible to release a statement that would be and remain sufficiently comprehensive any sooner. We hope you can understand that no amount of pressure to make a statement was going to force us to jeopardize the well-being of the victims, and that anything but the truth would be unfairly reductive to those of us who wish to have our stories heard. We are not a professional PR firm. We are a group of people who have been deeply hurt, taken advantage of, abused, and betrayed. We are people with private lives that now have to contend with sharing our negative experiences out to the public because Shayy's inappropriate patterns of behavior have continued and worsened far beyond what constitutes drama. We implore you to read this document in full and humbly ask for your patience and empathy as we bare our hearts to you. We ask that you do not attempt to contact nor harass anyone mentioned in this document regarding its contents, and that you do not attempt to identify or publish information that reflects the identities of the victims that have chosen to remain anonymous. Do not treat this document as an exhaustive list of those affected. At minimum, we confirm there are more victims that have spoken to us but have chosen not to tell their story publicly at this time. Please do respect their privacy until they wish to share, and show them grace and kindness when they do. Thank you from all of us for reading. Okay, so there are some interesting boundaries set from this first page. Generally speaking, I think these are solid boundaries from the looks of it. They seem to be pretty solid, and it seems like they actually do care about protecting the victims involved. So that kind of tells me that they're not doing this for clout, because there are a lot of people that come forward with either clout or just a bullshit cancel someone. But apparently, like, if you look at the chapters, there's like so many victims. There's like roughly 20, maybe even a little more than 20 at this point. Apparently there's more that haven't even spoken out yet. So that means, like, listen, if there's that many, like, I guess, people that were affected, very rarely is it a false accusation. Now, is it possible that this could all be false? Maybe. You know, I think there's a very small chance. But if you have that many people who were affected, I generally think it's very rare that allegations tend to be false in those scenarios. But we'll see, though. We'll see. I am willing to have my mind changed in either direction. Additional context. Additional context needed to understand the contents of this document can be found below. People who have chosen to publish their testimonies anonymously have had arbitrary names, colors, and numbers assigned. These are consistent throughout all text and screenshots. All censors in black are censoring additional parties who are not relevant to the main testimonial. Many of these statements will mention a hashtag trusted or hashtag vent Discord channel. This refers to the channels in Shayy's server, Frog Family, that only those with the idiot or moderator roles have access to. The role idiot was typically given only to those close friends of Shayy or those who were close with many in the group. It is important to note that the behavior described in this document has been brought to Shayy's attention repeatedly as early as 2021 and as late as a week ago. This document was created after multiple attempts to try to get them to change with no result, even though after those affected privately reached out to bring it to Shayy's attention. The information gathered was collected in pieces from multiple people who all initially believed those were isolated incidents. It is only when those affected reached out to one another that the true scope was realized. Though this will be obviously based. I think there's a typo in the document. I think that's meant to say obviously based. Though this will be obviously based on the content shared here. Shayy had no prior part in writing this document and had not seen the vast majority of its content prior to being shared with the general public. All right, with that, we've got 3 pages, which is the star smiley. All right. Okay. Trigger warning. This document contains a description of sexual assault. Okay, so there's a lot of text in this document on this, like, part of it from the star smiley person. This is the first person that was involved with Shayy, and the problem that I'm going to have with this section of the document is that there's no evidence. And I get that you want to, like, protect victims and you want to, like, not have them get harassed or whatever. But, like, generally speaking, if I'm not even going to see, like, a screenshot proof of conversation that you guys at least talked or had some conversation regarding the sexual assault, it's going to be tough for me to, like, take this with face value. You know what I mean? So, again, that doesn't mean that the sexual assault did or didn't happen, but there's no screenshot here, so, like, I'm not really sure what to do with it. But I'm not going to dismiss it immediately. I'm going to at least hear the testimony, because there may still be something here, for all we know. Hi, I'm Star Smiley. For those who don't know, I've been Shayy's partner for the last 5 to 6 years. I've been living with them since August of 2025, and within the last week have moved back with my parents. I'm going to outline the experiences I had this relationship, starting with the most serious offense. Most of these interactions have happened in real life when it was just the 2 of us. Okay, so I guess that explains why there may not be proof. Though, again, it's going to be a little bit tough to take this with face value, respectfully. There's an important part of this relationship you need to understand going into all this. I identify as asexual, and I'm not interested in doing anything sexual with anyone. Shayy was aware of this and generally respected that throughout this relationship. I understood they needed a sexual outlet and agreed that they could have sexual contact with others. Okay, so you guys agreed to have a non-monogamous relationship. So that's kind of what that reads to me as. Okay. I did not request that they tell me who it was or when it happened, but I will go into how it was poorly handled. Okay. At the beginning of November 2025, Shayy and I were lounging on our bed in the main bedroom. We started cuddling, and suddenly they laid a hand on my crotch and started rubbing it without asking. Oh, that's not good. Yeah, that's... Yikes. If there's obviously no implied consent there, and if he knew that you were asexual and he just started, like, touching your crotch non-consensually, yeah, that's... If that's true, that is absolutely a form of sexual assault. If that's true, that's definitely really gross. Jeez. This has never happened before, and I froze. They did it for a minute or so before saying, "So you really don't feel anything, huh? That's crazy," before laughing and pulling away. I did not give consent for them to do this, which makes it sexual assault. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's definitely a form of sexual assault. That's disgusting. I'm also asexual. Yeah, and you communicated earlier that Shayy would have known that you were asexual, so yeah. And I feel disrespected in my identity, and they had to at least test whether I was asexual or not. Yeah, you shouldn't have to test somebody. Like, that's, if they say I'm asexual and I'm not interested in any sex, that's pretty explicit. That's pretty clear, you know. As I mentioned previously, I agreed that they could have sexual contact with others and did not specify that they had to tell me when it happened or who it was. I did not expect them to be having this behavior with nearly 20 people nearly constantly throughout the entire relationship. Well, that's kind of silly. Like, not for nothing, but, like, if you agreed to be non-monogamous, like, Shayy is free to, like, sleep and hook up with as many people as they want. Now, they could have done bad stuff with other people, potentially, right? That doesn't mean that there isn't anything bad that couldn't have happened, but, you know, generally speaking, if you guys didn't agree to be monogamous, then that doesn't really matter that how many people that Shayy did it with. Furthermore, they have reassured others that they did, in fact, ask for my permission for those specific encounters to happen, which they did not. They were going off the original agreement, which was years old at this point. These people were led to believe that Shayy was telling me about this when it happened, and have said they would not participate if they didn't know. If they knew I didn't know. Okay. Interesting. They also intentionally invite people over while I was away from the house for the purpose of acting sexually with them. And again, not tell me what happened while I was away. But didn't you just say that they didn't have to be clear with you about it? Like, what? Like, I thought you made it clear that Shayy didn't have to make it clear to you. I want to note that when I left the house with Shayy to go back with my parents, I did so in secret. I was afraid they would try to prevent me from leaving. They later called my mom and confirmed that they would have tried to stop me from leaving if they knew. The last bit for this section is that we actually broke up briefly in April 2021. They were flirting with two of my friends, and as good friends, they came to me and told me about them. Okay. You said that they were fine. You pretty much established it was a non-monogamous relationship, and that that Shayy didn't necessarily have to tell you who it was with. So, like, that doesn't matter. Like, I feel like that really is, like, okay. It depends what he did with these people, I guess. Shayy probably broke up with me and got with another person, which lasted a few months before coming back and saying they wanted to try their relationship again. Oh, is that what it was? Okay, so it wasn't you that broke up with Shayy. It was Shayy that broke up with you to try to monkey branch off to someone else, and then you took him back after that relationship inevitably didn't work out, I guess. Okay, that should have been my first red flag. Okay, alright, okay, so that does make sense, actually, never mind. Okay, fair enough, okay, that makes sense to me now. Alright, cool. The rest of this document is relatively minor in comparison to these instances, but I believe it was important to share to highlight the entirety of our relationship. Okay, fair enough. For our financial situation, they made about $250K per year, while I made about $38K. Despite this, they would routinely ask me to foot the bill for our GDQ trips, Games Done Quick trips. Oh my god, Games Done Quick lore is tying into this. Oh my gosh. We're really going into the speed running world, which was about $1,500 for the hotel room for the week. Only once or twice did they split the bill with me for the past 5 years. Another important aspect of our relationship is that I am severely depressed and struggle with suicidal thoughts. Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. I would often vent on my alt account about these thoughts. Shayy usually never reached out to me regarding these instances privately and rarely commented on these posts. I do not know if they just did not see them or were actively avoiding addressing them. You may ask why I didn't vent to Shayy directly, but as part of my depression, I struggled with reaching out to people one-on-one about these issues, not wanting to feel like a burden. The lack of care shown did not help. During GDQs, we would also rarely see each other except when we slept. We would occasionally hang out or have meals together, but it wasn't common. Something noteworthy is that while we were hanging out alone, they would often suddenly go, "I'm going to hang out with X, see you later," without inviting me. I understand if I didn't know the person, but this was usually with mutual friend groups who I'd ask an hour later if I can join them. There were times I'd go to sleep not knowing where they were or who they were with. As far as our living situation went, issues arose immediately. I quickly became the person to do everything around the house: laundry, grocery shopping, taking care of garbage, dishwashing, and general cleaning. The only thing they did themselves was vacuuming, which was only once during the entire 2.5 months I was there. During the times we ate together, we usually did not talk. They were too busy on their phone. I chalked it up to being extremely busy, but considering how often they were interacting sexually with people, the chances are higher that they were doing that instead. I mean, again, you agreed to that earlier in this document. You agreed to be non-monogamous, just to be clear. So I'm going to be real with you. The idea in a vacuum of them being sexual with other people when you agreed to it, I don't care about, quite frankly. That means nothing to me. Now, the most damning thing is the sexual assault. Again, there's not really any proof in Star Smiley's section of the document. Even though there's not enough proof, the story is fairly consistent for the most part. You know, outside of maybe like, I guess the boundaries they set, or I guess they thought that maybe the boundaries were not the greatest. I don't know. But aside from that, like for the most part, the story is fairly consistent within itself. But again, you did agree to these boundaries, just to be clear. Like in hindsight, you can't just retroactively say that this was a bad thing when you did agree to it, just to be clear. I don't think I'm not really detecting that like Star Smiley is like doing it maliciously. I think Star Smiley is just like adding this on in hindsight to what maybe the other allegations are after she might have heard of it, which might be damning. Again, the sexual assault thing is bad if that's true. Like that is a form of sexual assault if that did happen. Absolutely. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. Because I don't know. It's tough to say whether it did or didn't happen, because there's no proof in this document. There's not even like text message screenshots of anything that occurred. So I can't really do anything with it is the problem. But that's kind of where I'm at, you know, like I think the story is consistent, but I also don't know whether it did or didn't happen. It's a little bit early to say, and I'm just not going to have opinion. I'm not really going to have an opinion on that right now. I should note that they seem to have severe social media addiction. Don't we all? They were constantly on their phone or computer. I remember a few instances of them asking about eating, and then they'd stay glued on their phone for 2 hours. I remind them a few times about getting food just to go, yeah, 1 second, and then another half hour scrolling. After we ate, they generally went to their office, even if not streaming that day until 2 a.m. They would come to bed and generally immediately get on their laptop to continue scrolling before going to sleep. It's very rare that we actually interacted with each other throughout the day. Another minor thing I want to note is that they left their trash laying around. There would be up to 10 empty cans of soda sitting on the counter along with boxes of empty soda containers. I cleaned it up myself since it bothered me. They would also tend to leave glasses and silverware sitting around despite us having a dishwasher. The glasses would be covering the counter and sink. I would go away and come back a few days. Okay, so I'm going to be honest. I don't really care about any of this. Like, they were shitty when it comes to dishes. They were shitty when it comes to, like, social media addiction and interaction. This stuff, I got to be honest, I kind of just don't care about it, personally. They just seem like they're a bit of a dickhead when it comes to responsibilities, and that's shitty, and that's not right, but I also really just, like, I'm not really shitting my pants over it. Yeah, I think I'm going to skip this because we do have a lot to get through. I think we got everything we needed from Star Smiley section. There is alleged sexual assault here, and I hope that, I don't know, I can only hope that's not true, but it's not good if it is, because how they described it, it would be a form of sexual assault if it did happen. So, yeah, okay. Yeah, alright. I think we're going to move on from this section because I think that's pretty much, yeah, alright. We're going to move on. Oh boy, 25 pages. Okay. Note that the timestamps are in GMT because I put this doc together when I was on vacation in England. This is 6 hours ahead of my usual time zone. This was rushed out because of how stressful. Okay, cool. Alright. I am Aspen/Aspie-necked. I was friends with Shayy for a few years starting in early 2022. We originally started talking in Twitter DMs, which have, for better or worse, been lost to time because I deactivated my Twitter account a year or two ago at this point. To contextualize my age throughout this document, I was born in late November 2004, so I was a few months into being 17 at this point. Okay. So do we know how old Shayy was at this point? Let's see. Shayy was born in 1999, so that would mean there's a 5-year age gap. So in this screenshot, Shayy would be around 22 years old. So it would be 22 and 17. So I personally am not a huge fan of that age gap. I'm not a fan of 5-year age gaps. I don't think it's appropriate. It definitely could be predatory depending on the context. But, like, also, I mean, even if it's technically not pedophilia, it's still very wrong. Absolutely. I still think that this age gap is very wrong. At the time, I was significantly less experienced with dealing with my anxiety and struggled with my mental health. At the time, Shayy was one of the people I would talk to about these things. At the time, they were very willing to converse and support me, talking through a breakdown on multiple occasions. At times, I would give compliments, calling them cute primarily, but things in that vein. They reciprocated these thoughts in the way that in hindsight was not appropriate given my age 17, and theirs 22 or 23 years old. Yeah, I agree. It's definitely not a good age gap. It's not like you were 17 and they were like 18, 19, or 20, which is like I would say like a reasonable age gap. They were like 22 and 23. They're too old to be talking to a 17-year-old. Absolutely, I agree. The unfortunate reality is that if you guys are both in America, which I assume that this was in America, but you did say you were moving back to England, right? You were on vacation in England. Okay, so I assume you're in America, but you went on vacation in England. Again, a lot of ages of consent in America are 16 and 17, which I think we need to change. I think we need to increase it to 18. And quite frankly, I think we should probably increase it further because I think 18-year-olds are also fucking immature as well. Frankly, I think we need to increase it to like 21 or something. Because, like, that's, like, the legal drinking age. And because, like, it doesn't make sense to me that you can't drink alcohol, but you can consent to having sex with older people at, like, 16 or 17. That doesn't make any sense to me. It's, like, very weird. But, okay. Yeah. So, yeah, this is an inappropriate age gap, just to be clear. I'm not a fan of it. Fun fact, you're cute. Takes one to know one. Shut. No, I don't think I will. You bitch. Okay, you guys are flirting. Very inappropriate. Very gross. Inappropriate, for sure. Hope you're having a good night. I'm also a very complimenty person, so prepare yourself. The real kicker of this conversation was when I was talking about worrying about not passing while wearing a dress. And they took what was meant to be a compliment about how I was insecure about my shoulders to be about my gawk entirely unprompted. Oh. So were they talking about, is it girl cock? Gawk? Lol, yeah, I like shirts. Dresses kind of scare me. I unfortunately can't really pass in a dress. I mean, I think you pass just enough without anything special. Unfortunately, dresses kind of expose the more giveaway traits. What, people can't appreciate some gawk? That wasn't what I meant, but that too, I guess. What else was that supposed to be referring to? I was thinking about my shoulders, lol. Later in the same conversation, they commented on my NFTs, which as far as myself or anyone can figure out is nice fucking tits. Oh, okay, so it's a dog whistle. Got it. Cool. And then that I looked cute, and then my partner is very lucky. To a certain extent, you could argue this reassurance, but the comments about my penis and breasts are unsavory at best. Are you trans by chance? Because you're saying penis, so like, are you like a trans person or something? So I'm very curious. Give me a second. All right, I can't find the if Aspen is like trans or not. Okay, maybe I guess we'll find that out maybe as the document goes on. I mean, I'm looking at that first photo you sent me, and nothing about that screams, those shoulders do not look like a woman's, and that has barer shoulders. Not sure how you've been on HRT. Okay, so they are trans. Okay, HRT, so they are trans. All right. But I mean, IMO, I think you already passed really well. I don't know how anybody in that picture would look otherwise. Well, you even got some NFTs in there. What? Think I couldn't handle it? I mean, you do look really cute in this, but I said your partner is very lucky. Nothing direct here, but a couple of instances of them being too concerned about being canceled in a way that seems like foreshadowing of something. Okay, interesting. Forgot the gay. If I made that joke, my platform would be big enough to get canceled for queerbaiting or whatever, or do I have to get a million subs first? Interesting. Okay. Seems like that's Shayy who said that. It's like a tweet that they were gonna put out, but they didn't? Is that what that reads to me as? Seems like it. Oh no, don't compliment me, anything but that, haha, I feed off compliments lately, honestly, it makes me very confident in myself, but it's okay, I will use my power responsibly. Well, it wouldn't really matter unless you were, like, leveraging it by saying, hey, if you don't have sex with me, I'll do this to you, or if you do have sex with me, I'll give something to you. The power dynamic argument wouldn't really matter there. But again, the bigger concern is that this is just not an appropriate age gap. A 22 or 23-year-old should not be talking to a 17-year-old like this. It's like you're obviously a little too old to be talking to a 17-year-old like this. Additionally, very clear early on that they were willing to objectify their friends and fans so far as to say they revel in their simps. Why would I deny it? I'm fucking hot. So true. Why do you think I have so many simps? Charisma? Sure, not that I mind having simps, of course, at this point. I mean, I sort of revel in at that point at times. On June 26, 2022, during summergames.quick, I think that's what that is, which we were both attending, they sent suggestive images of them shirtless, to the best of my ability to discern the context while we were sitting on the bed next to each other in the same room IRL. Oh, you guys actually met in real life and sat in the same bed next to each other. Oh, that's crazy. Wow, okay, so interesting. Weird thing to send to a 17-year-old. Image not attached for privacy reasons, and for your sake, reading this. There was no context to this being sent. It was in the middle of a series of messages that were just spammy, funny Discord stickers at each other. As I approached 18 years old, they started complimenting me and calling me cute more and more. The worst of this was on my Snapchat, which I unfortunately can't supply more of the screenshot I had in my camera roll because I don't have Snapchat anymore, but all of these as I was approaching 18 years old at the end of November. Cool. Cute. Thank you. Good morning, cutie. You look great. Sheesh, you look good. Oh my lord. Sheesh, thank you. Cute. After I turned 18, their demeanor changed towards me and immediately changed to be significantly more overly flirtatious. Hope you're doing well. I am. I'm glad you deserve it, cutie. Ah, so adorable. I want a head pat. Heh, good boy. Okay. I mean, at this point, you are 18 years old, so you are a legal adult at this point. So these interactions I wouldn't care about as much, but it is very weird that Shayy knew you before you were 18 and these interactions were going on, and they were flirting with you while you were 17, while they were like 22 or 23 years old. That's still very wrong, for sure. Now, I hate to be that guy, and I hate to be gross, but like so far, I'm not really seeing anything that's like predatory out of these messages. So far, it's just like very like flirting without any sort of like legitimate, like, you know, there's nothing predatory going on right now. I think what I'd be looking for is if there was like a leveraging of a power to some capacity. I mean, again, I'm not a huge fan of 22 or 23 and 17, but the unfortunate reality is that not every age of consent in America is 18, and that's unfortunate, you know. Like, like I would be a little more, I guess, pushing on Shayy if we had a like more reasonable age of consent, but we don't, and that's just the unfortunate reality. So, it is what it is. I'm not saying it makes what Shayy is doing okay here. It's still very inappropriate and gross, but so far I'm kind of just like not shitting myself over it. It's not fun or good, but it's like, I don't know, it's just very gross. That's really it. It's kind of like where I'm at. Additionally, within the same conversation, they accepted my advancement to talking about kissing platonically, but more importantly, this was the first time we talked about star smileys, then their partner boundaries about flirting with being sexual with other people. They were, for several years, in a monogamous relationship in which they stated that Star said she was okay with them to engage in these relations with other people, but she later clarified they never communicated properly about this. Next time I want to see you and give you a huge hug. That would be nice. Then I don't know what you're comfy with, but you've mentioned platonic kissing, I think. I did mention that. Hi, I love platonic kissing. Good to know. To be fair, I'm down for a lot more platonically than most people are. Take that as you will. I'm only recently exploring platonic affection, so I think I'll be sticking with head pats. That's so valid. I also want to make sure that I'm respecting both you and Star's boundaries. I take it she's okay with you doing these things? Yep, good. That feels like it should be a given, but you'd be surprised how many people don't take that into consideration. Lol, yeah, no, I asked her for that first. Good, good. It honestly astounds me how often people just like easily violate things that should be respected to the most basic level in relationships. Like respecting your partner's boundaries is fucking important. Yeah, I don't know. So far with this like Aspen person, I'm not really seeing anything that's like traumatizing. If Shayy lost their career over being a 22 or 23-year-old interacting with a 17-year-old, I'm also not going to shit my pants over it, because it's like you should know better. Like, you're a 22 or 23-year-old. Like, you should know that you probably shouldn't be interacting with a 17-year-old at your age. It's very gross. I'm not really seeing anything predatory, but I also would be totally fine if Shayy wasn't a content creator anymore, at the very least, because, you know, you just have to be a lot more responsible, especially when you get to like 22 or 23. Because like at that point, I knew not to interact with 17-year-olds. You know what I mean? Like I would be more understanding if you were like a 19 or a 20-year-old, like you're within a reasonable age range to a 17-year-old, like, because that's like a high school age gap, but you're not really in a high school age gap anymore, so you kind of just have to like, you don't really get that excuse, you know? Like, it's gross. It's gross. And that's really just what it comes down to. So if Shayy had some sort of repercussion for it, that would be totally fine. But I also don't think this Aspen person is going to be traumatized from this situation based on what I'm seeing so far. Screenshot dated, because like with Aspen, just to clarify, by the way, Aspen is like I wouldn't say they're consenting, because like I would say it's willing. I wouldn't really call it consensual, because I don't know if a 17-year-old can consent to being with like a 22 or a 23-year-old in any meaningful way. I guess technically the age of consent is 16 or 17 in a lot of states. So technically, I guess in theory, legally, they could consent to it. Not saying that that makes it right, but still. Screenshot dated November 18th, 2025. I mentioned it a bit in Discord a while back, but I gave permission to do stuff with others. They never told me who they were doing it with. I guess you two had something going on based on bits and pieces. There are numerous flirtatious conversations like above shortly after I turn 18 that I will skip over for brevity. Okay. I'll note here that starting here, late 2023, until around October 2025, they only reached out or tried to engage in conversations with me when they were horny. Every other conversation is dry, best, or in some cases, just didn't get a reply. This isn't a pattern I noticed until the events at Summer Games Done Quick 2025 that I will cover later, but it's worth noting. On one occasion, they were talking. They told me to come lay on their lap, and I was exhausted at the time. I would probably fall asleep, and they made a comment hoping I don't do anything silly while I slept. I can't think of any way to read this other than a threat. Don't do anything silly. I don't know. I would need to know the context of don't do anything silly. I need to know the context of that. Is it don't do anything silly or else I'll do something to you? Or just don't do anything silly to try not to get, like, us in any trouble or whatever? Like, there's, like, a context here. I would need to know that. I think that is important. Because this could potentially be something, depending on what it is. Alright. Shayy, come here and lay on my lap for a while, please. I'm going to fall asleep on you, probably. Just a heads up. That's okay. Hope you don't do anything silly while you're asleep. I mean, that's kind of creepy. It's very weird. I don't know if that's definitive that it's like a threat, necessarily. I mean, assuming the sexual assault allegation is true with the star smiley stuff, this could be like a really, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't doubt that Shayy, if that is true, the star smiley stuff is true, then I wouldn't doubt that they just don't seem to be as caring for some people's boundaries. And so they might cross that boundary while you're sleeping. I don't know. That's just speculation on my part. I can't really do anything with this, right? Like immediately at face value. Okay, later in the same conversation, I established that I was feeling sex repulsed, and that's why I was deflecting their advances again and again, worried for Star's boundaries, to which they reassured me that was okay. That's gay. Hi. I'm like vaguely ace leaning at the moment, and also don't know where your boundaries are, so I'm being silly instead of engaging. Ha, that's fine. You're a close friend, so I'd be okay with that stuff from you. But yeah, I mean, if you're ace leaning, then whatever you're comfy with, friend. I appreciate you being considerate. I just don't really know what that stuff you're comfy with and where your boundaries are, especially with Star. I am not trying to get in the way of a happy relationship. Oh, haha, that's okay. With me being sexual with friends, don't worry. I was clear how important communication about things like this were for me. We never talked about anything past stuff like cuddling and stuff. This communication is very important. So true. When I expressed discomfort that they were posting suggestive/nude images untagged on their private Twitter account, they responded worried about the reach of their posts, again, on a private Twitter account, and rather suggested that they remove me from the circle. I was clear that I use my private Twitter account to follow my friends' accounts, and that seeing sexual things by far the outlier, and that they still push that I should be removed or that I should make a separate account for that, to which I did, despite not wanting to do that given my asexuality. Interesting. Okay, so are you... I don't know, did you just discover you were asexual at this point? I assume it's possible. I mean, you're still very young at this point. Like, I consider an 18-year-old a kid, personally. I'm 23, turning 24, so... Lil bro, gotta censor your Twitter posts. I am in class. Why are you checking your private Twitter account in class? Censoring post kills engagement. I don't like doing it. Fair enough. I was gonna reply one of my posts earlier. I should have said this before. It's kind of annoying, not gonna lie. That's fair. Like, if you don't want to follow that, I can remove you from the circle, but like, it's something you willingly asked for on that account. I feel like it's strange to complain about checking something you know is suggestive as hell in a public space. I mean, it's also just the account that I use to see my friends' posts. These posts are like by far the outlier, and sometimes I just want to see my friends' posts without getting nudes jump scared. Okay then, do you want to follow on that account or not then? I mean, that account is also just has regular posts, does it not? And like, I do want to see those posts. I would just rather choose before seeing the images. I don't know. I mean, the circle's silly. There's no regular posts in here. All the regular posts are just regular posts. I mean, yeah, it's just the problem of like, I want to see the posts, but it's also like, do you have a different account you want to use then? I don't have another account, lol. I have my main and private account, and another account that I never open. Don't you literally follow porn accounts on your private? No, Lamau. I swear, I remember you showing me your timeline was full of that stuff. Maybe I'm misremembering. Sometimes my main gets bad because I follow a lot of artists, and it's like, sometimes artists get silly. Either way, it kills engagement, so no, I'm not putting a spoiler tag on it. That's fair, I guess. I don't really see how that would affect engagement. I'm sure it would. It would probably limit your outreach on Twitter, I think, to some capacity. Either way, this argument doesn't really matter that much, to be honest with you. Like, the people who follow you are going to see it regardless. Because I don't want to see them. I mean, it's the whole reason it's there. Actually completely untrue. They also proceeded to say that I was condescending for this concern, citing their experience. Okay, if this is how this conversation is going to go, I really don't want to have it. I'm already kind of annoyed, and this is just making it worse. Good luck on the rest of your classes. Not like you need to worry anyways. Circle is dead in like a week anyways. Sorry, just wanted to understand your perspective. It's just annoyingly condescending. Like, I do content creation and social media stuff for a living. I know what I'm talking about. Okay, you're being a little bit full of yourself there. But, yeah. In this conversation, they were making more advances than I was comfortable with. Okay, so yeah, this is a different timeline because this is 2023 of October. This is June of 2024. A decent portion of our conversations during this time, 2023 to 2025, were somewhat similar to this, with me eventually giving into pressure. I will not continue posting more screenshots of this conversation like this, but it is a couple thousand messages of over these conversations. Why not? Don't you want people to believe your side of the story? I feel like it just makes sense to post screenshots and all the proof that you can. I don't know why you are withholding proof. That's a little sus. Like, when you withhold proof, that makes it seem like you're hiding something. Like, if you say that more proof exists, but you're choosing not to show it, that you realize how silly that sounds, right? Again, I think this age gap is inappropriate. Like, all the flirting that's been going on as like a 22 or 23-year-old with a 17-year-old, that is inappropriate. And it shouldn't be fucking happening to begin with. I agree. But, like, also, like, I just don't know if I highly doubt that Aspen is going to be traumatized being a 17-year-old talking to, like, a 22 or 23-year-old. I don't think it's appropriate. I think it's gross. But, like, I've heard, listen, I'm going to give, like, a bit of a nuanced real-world perspective on this. Like, I've heard stories of, like, you know, girls who were younger, who were under 18, who slept with guys older that they shouldn't have, right? Like, I've heard a story of, like, I don't know, like, there are stories of, like, girls who are, like, 16, 17, or 15 that, like, sleep with a guy in their, like, mid-20s, right? There are all sorts of stories like that. They aren't traumatized by it, you know, they've slept with them, but then they, like, get older, they look back on that, and they think it's gross. Like, they think, oh, yeah, that's gross, I probably shouldn't have done that. It is gross. It absolutely shouldn't be happening. I agree. But also, like, I doubt that there's going to be, like, any legitimate trauma from this, so and I'm not really seeing anything, like, predatory from Shayy. Shayy just kind of seems like a bit of an asshole, truthfully. The sexual assault stuff might be true, though, and in which case that is, like, absolutely gross, if that's true. But, again, we don't even have any legitimate evidence of that, because Star Smiley didn't show any evidence of any of their interactions. So, it's kind of hard to take anything at, like, face value here. Aspen is showing a lot more proof here, actually, like, way more than Star Smiley is. But, like, withholding proof here is going to be a little bit, I don't know. I don't know. All right, whatever. Let's just keep reading. Fair, I wasn't sure if she was coming. Cute. If we can, I want to cuddle for a while at some point. Comfy bed, 100%. Cuddles after this? Yeah? Use your words. I want to cuddle. Anything else? Mainly cuddle. That implies something else, silly. At summergames.quick 2024, they were interested in hanging out with me, with many DMs like ones below wanting to hang out. We cuddled while there were a number of people in the room, including but not limited to Star being in the bed at the same time. Given the context of what happened in the same situation when I was alone with Shayy next year, I wholeheartedly believe their presence saved me from being assaulted here. Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Alright. Hey gamer, when do you get here? I'm here. Sorry, I forgot to mention. Got dragged to the mall right away. Haha, no worries. I'm out. Are you still out? All my friends are watching a run right now. I can't. I'm in the broadcast room. I want to see if the PB run. Heads up, I'm in the hotel for some for the foreseeable future. Did you want to hang out? Yeah, when are you available? I'm in the middle of a bunch of people who are heat planning. If you want to hang out, I'm in my room. 2203. We did the same later that day, and I similarly suspect the constant presence of other people in the room was the only thing saving me. You busy? Not at all. Is that an invitation? Yup. I'll head up then. Foreshadowing a similar way they treated me at the next GDQ, they did not talk to me or respond to any of my DMs that were not related to me coming and hanging out with them in person. In this conversation, I explicitly told them I wasn't horny, and they still tried to make an advancement. You're so gay. Sorry, I'm just kind of not in a horny mood right now. Damn, I can fix that. What? Bonk. And for the main event, summergames.quick 2025, they seem excited to hang with me in anticipation. I was excited to see them. They continued to try to get me to come hang out. All the while, I was unaware it would be one-to-one. I assumed that friends or at least Star would be around in their room. What I did not know at the time was they purely they did this purely with the intent of having sex with me. Do we have any like I assume that I hope the conversation below like proves that to some capacity for your sake. GDQ today, excited to see you. I'm here. Let me know if you're free to play. Hi, I'm in the lobby for now. I just woke up. I'm in 1123. Good morning, cutie. I think I'm leaving soon for breakfast, so I'll catch you in a bit. If you're free right now, actually, I could head up. I just helped Cherry bring some stuff up to his room, or down, actually. Never mind, I lied. I gotta go. I'll catch you later. Okay, I'm back now. Come up. Okay, I need to steal a card from someone. When I went up to their room under the pretense of hanging out, they sexually assaulted me. Oh. Jesus Christ. Holy fuck. Okay, that took a huge fucking turn. Holy fuck. Okay. They sexually assaulted me. They made advancements and pushed me to do things I was not comfortable with, but I did not feel safe saying no given the context, the power they had over me, and the fact that I was alone with them. So, I mean, I hate to be that guy, but like, what specifically did Shayy do? Did like Shayy like tear your clothes off and like violently penetrated you, or did they like grab you in places they shouldn't have grabbed you in? Like, I'm just like, I would need to know, because like there's a lot of weird verbiage online about what is and isn't sexual assault. And that's just the unfortunate reality. And so like I would need to, these are things I would need to understand. Again, the star smiley thing was sexual assault, but it seems like you're also levying a sexual assault allegation. So, okay. All right. At the time, I was vulnerable given unrelated things in my personal life, and it led me to not really realize what had happened until I looked back on it a few days later. For the rest of the event, they barely responded to me. I sent around a dozen messages, and they gave me one single cat and a lol, ignoring almost everything I said to them, all the while acting like nothing happened when we weren't around each other in person. The next time they messaged me was to bring up what happened in person again. While I was trying to deflect, they were insistent on it. The other day, I was thinking about what we did at GDQ. That was nice. Wait, what? Hold on. Okay, so you were thinking about what you did at GDQ. It was nice. So, hold on. I'm sorry. Was there actually legitimate consent? I don't. I mean, you're saying there wasn't consent here, but I feel like there's something missing in between these, right? Surely there's something missing in between these. Okay, all right. I don't know. There's something very off about this, I guess. I don't know. Okay, also, I never got this ping. I did get it figured out eventually. I'm doing alright, finished college and chilling before I go to England. Ooh, hope, this was fun for you, haha. Also, congrats on finishing college, that's huge. Thanks, big weight off. I was incredibly uncomfortable around them at the time, and I left it at saying I wasn't interested in feeling sex repulsed. Okay, alright, okay, fair enough. Okay, I guess that explains why there isn't any response to this. I was very confused. I guess that if you were legitimately sexually assaulted, I wouldn't doubt that you were uncomfortable being around them, like, going forward, because that's very violating. I don't know specifically what sexual assault means to Aspen, like, if whether or not Aspen was, like, grabbed non-consensually, or if they were penetrated non-consensually, but, like, either way, it's still wrong and disgusting, but... I was very, this part was a little bit confusing, the way that it was worded with Aspen, because they said that they weren't going to show certain parts of it. But again, it would be bad if that's true. I was incredibly uncomfortable around them at the time, saying I wasn't interested and I was feeling sex repulsed. I was in particular deep sex repulsion about that because of what happened at GDQ. I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, after getting sexually assaulted, you wouldn't be open to sex whatsoever after that experience. That's a very normal response. I wouldn't doubt it. Are you not responding to this for a reason? Or, yeah, I'm just not interested. Sorry. What do you mean by that? Just like right now or in general? Bit of both. Really not interested right now. I'm sorry. I've been very sex repulsed recently. Later in that conversation, they tried prompting me about AGDQ. Yeah, are you going to be at AGDQ? I really liked cuddling with you. It was so nice. Nope, definitely can't afford it. No. Um, Around this time, we started having actual conversations occasionally, which I only suspect was around this time because people were starting to come out privately with stories about Shayy and that they were aware of. Eventually, I reached out about my experience with them after I'd already shared part of my story to relevant people. I hoped at the time this was them genuinely making an effort to make good with their mistakes and be a better friend, but now I know that it was simply them trying to cover their tracks and save face. Their apology seemed genuine, and I bit. Hey, sorry, I've been awkward and not responding. I've been struggling a lot with things and haven't known how to handle it. To put it bluntly, I've been reflecting ever since GDQ. I felt incredibly hurt and used by you over the past couple of years. I began feeling this way at GDQ, but upon reading back through our DMs, it was very clear that you only talked to me in more than a couple of very dry messages when you wanted to use me for sex. Reflecting on GDQ, this year and last made it clearer you talked to me when you wanted to cuddle or have sex with me, but ghosted me the rest of the time. It's made me feel terrible about myself about the fact that I've considered you a friend for years, just for our interactions to boil down this trend, only caring about messaging me when you're horny. I don't think it would be accurate to call our relationship over the past couple of years a friendship if our friendship is something that you care about when you're going to have to learn to be a good friend. Hey, thank you for being honest about this. I want to apologize and also validate what you're feeling because I was starting to feel the same way and it made me feel incredibly icky. The truth of the matter is that I enjoy talking to you and enjoy hanging out with you. I never intended to ghost you or do anything of the sort. I just really struggle to keep up with the vast amount of social things happening at an event like that. I do care about our friendship. I promise that I do. And I want to prove that I do. And I want to just talk about more stuff and hang out more in general. But I'm sorry for how I made you feel. I've been feeling that way from several others as well, feeling used, and I think that that can be dangerous outcome of having sexual interactions in a friendship like that. The bottom line is I care about you and I want to hang out more. Promise that I will do better, and again, thank you for being honest with me. I really am sorry for this. I promise it has everything to do with me just having a low social battery in general. It's nothing against you personally and nothing about how I view you. I just completely shut down and forget how to respond to things when my social battery is low, and then I'll just completely forget how to respond in general because of that. I've been trying more recently to reach out and just talk about whatever. I feel like I don't do that enough. I hope that makes sense. Again, I'm sorry and thank you for telling me that. I need you to know that I do care and that I care about you and I want to make this right. Sometimes it's difficult for me to discern what I feel people want from me. I only entertained those interactions because I thought you were enjoying them, and I guess that transformed into me thinking you valued me for that, and I guess that's just how low self-esteem on my end and image issues I have enjoyed with myself. But you're a really funny and endearing person, and I just enjoy being around you, and I'm sorry I made you feel like that wasn't the case. Can we try again? I hope your UK trip is going well. You're still there, right? In the month or following there, a few conversations we had that felt real for the first time in years, even them reaching out I'd posted on my private Twitter during a breakdown. Also, I saw your other tweet. I hope you're feeling better. Please don't do anything bad to yourself. But in the past few years, while learning about other stories and recency, which they never were continuing to abuse or take advantage of, it was clear that this was never more than anything than to attempt to save face. Yeah, it kind of seems like they might be scared to get canceled here, definitely. It seems like they might know that more stuff was brewing. And so, I guess there's going to be more stuff that we're going to be reading in the following chapters of this document. Shayy, if you're reading this, I sure hope you are. You repeatedly pushed me to my limits and you broke me down into nothing while I trusted you and forgave you over and over, time and time again. You took my endless kindness and used it to take advantage of me and my friends. You and your actions are deplorable, and I hope you never show your face around here ever again because you will never be welcome back. Huh. Okay. Yeah, I mean, so far we have 2 instances of alleged sexual assault now, and a inappropriate relationship with a 17-year-old while they're 22 and 23. That seems to be generally the more damning parts of this document. Yeah, this is really bad if this is all true. And if it's multiple people accusing Shayy of sexual assault, if it's more than one person, that definitely does add a lot of credibility to the claims, just to be clear. So, okay, I mean, yeah, it definitely, most of these stories seem to be pretty consistent. I'm not really finding any, like, lies or any bullshit or any, like, terminally online narratives. It actually does seem like there is quite a bit of substance to these stories. Okay, yeah, it's definitely not good, so yeah, let's keep going. Okay, we've got our third victim here. This is anonymous number 1. Apparently there's like a second anonymous, but we skip. Oh no, there is. Okay, so I guess it's out of order. That's weird. Okay, so it's anonymous 1, then anonymous 3, anonymous 2, I guess. Okay, interesting. All right, that's how we're gonna do it. All right. So anonymous 1 is a fairly lengthy section. One of the fucking chapters is like 44 pages long. Jesus Christ. Oh my god, it really is the Cinder document all over again. I guess it's like 20% of the Cinder document. So hopefully I can get this done in like one video and maybe skip the parts that are not as relevant. Okay, so this is just a table of contents. What actually happened between Anonymous 1 and Shayy, opening and disclaimers, introduction to how me and Shayy met, yada yada yada. Shayy and other people's hair, section dedicated to a pattern of Shayy's behavior with multiple other people relating to long hair. I think we could probably skip the hair section. I doubt I'm going to care about whatever the fuck is in the hair section. It just seems very strange. Unless it like relates to some sexual deviancy that's like, I don't know, that's relevant to the story, but like I don't really think that's that important, so I'm more than likely going to skip it. What was the most recent example of Shayy's behavior? An accurate explanation of the Hickey tweet incident, plus how I tried to ignore it and it made me feel uncomfortable. Okay. I mean, non-consensually giving hickeys to someone would also be a form of sexual assault, just to be clear. If non-consensual kissing is a form of sexual assault to somebody, then non-consensually giving a hickey to someone would also be a form of sexual assault. So I don't see why a hickey non-consensually wouldn't be sexual assault if a non-consensual kiss is sexual assault. Does that make sense? So what was the most recent example of Shayy's behavior? Okay, I think this is fine. We don't need to read any of the table of contents. I think we're good. Okay. Alright, this is a complete recounting of what exactly went on between me and Shayy and the direct fallout of the people unaware. Please have the heart to read it in full. It discusses my side and the truth. I hope everyone who already knows what went down can take the time to read this in full too. I've given you the evidence in condensed version in private. Here you can read the more in-depth and personal recounting of the situation alongside extra parts I might have missed. TLDR, Shayy lied and has continued omitting information and heavily downplayed what actually happened between them and me. This is behavior they have exhibited with others too. This is written throughout the 5th of November 2025 to the 9th of November of 2025. Okay. Alright. This document has been edited by Anonymous 1 to remove any and all identifiers. Okay, cool. Yep. What actually happened between Anonymous 1 and Shayy? Hey, Anonymous 1 here. I'm sorry it has come to this for the people who are most likely sick of hearing about everything relating to the situation. Ideally, Shayy's accountability statement would have been the last time you guys would have to hear about it, but Shayy continues to not properly explain what happened, and now I'm here having to do it myself. This feels wretched, and I'm afraid. Before I begin, I do want to explain a little where my head is at with all of this. Firstly, please make sure you are going back to both of the videos and the screenshots and cross-referencing as you read to make sure you are coming to the conclusions you do on the basis of facts and evidence. I do not expect you to take my word, so please make sure you are evaluating the conversations themselves to ensure you know what is happening in full. I mean, you don't have to do it, but it's probably the best you do. Secondly, be aware that my intent isn't to drive Shayy's friends away with this. I am fully aware and already know of people who know of the situation in full that are continuing to stick by them, and that is okay. I've never said to every single person I have told, but beg. Okay, yeah, cool. Yeah. Please, all that stuff. Okay, yeah. All right. So this is all just like the disclaimer stuff. Yep. All right. How has this affected me? I originally was going to wait until later to explain how this entire situation has made me feel, but since starting this document, I've had a second mental health crisis moment that was greatly attributed to this entire fiasco. I've had 2 fits of hyperventilation, 3 as of November 16th, since Shayy released their most recent statement. I'm currently writing this one on the 6th of November 2025, so it has been 2 days. I actually woke up to that statement being posted in the early hours of the 5th with no warning. I have not seen Shayy's statement, but Shayy has deleted most of their social media anyways, so I don't think I'd be able to find it. Maybe it still exists out there, but we have a lot to get through here, so honestly, I feel like we're going to get most of the information here anyways, considering I imagine this is going to be up to date with what Shayy posts anyways regarding their piece of information. So, yeah. I genuinely have never felt so much stress, such violent, scary anxiety. I've been through a lot in my life, but this has been one of the most gut-churning and physically taxing situations I've ever been through, which says a lot. I am not the type of person to buckle physically under stress. It's usually all in my head, but the digestive issues, the nausea, the hyperventilation, so bad, both of my hands have tingled and my hearing has dulled. The esophagus, esophagus, I think is how you say it. Jesus Christ. I don't know why I had so much trouble pronouncing it. Pain from crying so hard. The nasal and eye irritation. The heart palpitations. I've struggled to eat. Struggled to get to sleep with pangs of anxiety that would wake me up as soon as I started to drift off, like my body was in fight or flight. I've had arguments with my family in my personal life happen at the same time as this ongoing situation multiple times. It has been intense, and I'm surprised I'm not in the hospital for physical or mental complications. I mean, that sounds pretty serious based on, like, everything that's gone on so far. Mentally, I've felt worthless. At times, I haven't felt like a person anymore. There have been so many times I've felt disgusted with my body, disgusted as I was born in the body because because maybe things would be different if I had not been perceived this way as I was. Maybe if I was born a man, are you like trans or something? Are you getting like a form of dysphoria potentially? Is that what this is? It has made me feel completely unlovable. Someone who is unable to take affection from anyone out of fear will become sexual or against wishes. Several times I have wished I wasn't aro ace so none of this would have bothered me. Thanks to my OCD, I have been unable to focus on anything other than this. It has been on my mind intrusively, constantly. Speaking normally with friends, spending time with them has been 10 times harder as a result. Shayy has made me feel subhuman. Okay, so we genuinely, this situation has gotten to them, all right? That's, like, generally the idea. I know I'm skipping out on stuff in the document, but we have a lot to get through, and I'd rather not read, like, every single page again, like the Cinder document. I already came out of the Cinder document, so I'm going to be, like, skipping things a little bit, like, if I kind of just, like, get the general idea. Okay, so where did this start? Me and Shayy became friends as a result of me being an active member in their community as a fan, most prominently during 2023. They messaged me for the first time directly on March 11th, 2023 to thank me for the art I made for them. I was 17 years old. We quickly grew a friendship through interactions in DMs. Okay, so if they were born in 1999, all right, I want to say Shayy was... So they're 2 years older than me. I want to say they were like 23 at this point. They were like 23 years old while this person was 17, so that's definitely gross. Absolutely very, very gross if they did anything during that time. It seems like there's like a repeat pattern of behavior with Shayy, because there was the Aspen person who was like 17 while Shayy was like 22, and now there's this person who was 17 while Shayy was 23, so it really just seems like Shayy just has like huge boundary issues. Absolutely. I was added to Trust on the 27th of June 2023, a bit under a month before I turned 18. Shayy behaved properly while I was underage as far as I'm aware, but soon after turning 18, My birthday being August 15th, which they in the DMs they wished me happy birthday and joked about minors DNI in the bio for number 2. Was when they began to use the terms like good boy to describe and praise for me. Shayy was 24 at this point. Okay. Wait, no, but wouldn't Shayy... Okay, hold on. Shayy was born 1999 on May. So that means... No, because they're 26 now. So that means last year in 2024 they'd be 25. And then 2023 they'd be 23. Or no, 24. Excuse me. Okay, so I guess that does check out. On August 15th, they were 24. Okay, cool. They were 24. All right, got it. It was on New Year's Eve of 2023 after I had vented to Shayy about me and my mother's relationship and how troubled said relationship was, that Shayy suddenly started speaking to me about their ass. Their message was in direct relation to me offering to listen to them vent and proceeded to send a screenshot of someone's Twitter header. This header consisted of Shay's GDQ bed-ass picture. They told me that I used my platform to force my friend to make this her banner for the entire year. I started to respond to this playfully, saying dumb shit like, "God damn, you got a dumpy." I was aware this was stupid to say. It's not really something I like to joke about often, but it felt right in the moment given how playful Shayy can be. I wanted to be friends with them, so I wanted to match the energy. This, though, ended up with Shayy saying, "Are you saying you want to have a fat ass?" And my response of, "That implies I don't have a fat ass already." This is where proof was asked by Shayy. Okay, so it seems like they're just citing a lot of evidence. Just curious. I don't really see, like, because there's like a lot of numbered evidences or pieces of evidence here. And I just don't really see it. Can I not click it? I don't know what the mark is. Okay, whatever. That's very weird. Alright, additional context for the public version of this doc. The specific nickname is play on words related to Anonymous One's name. We are not redacting the entire section because it adds important context to the situation. Okay. Fine, I guess. Alright. I don't know why Shayy was focused on the nickname Name Ass for this segment. For those unaware, Name Ass was a nickname I gave myself in Shay's sub-only Minecraft server was a sign of the bed in-game. I would tell my friends at the time, people I had known for longer than Shayy can testify themselves, not to call that name as part of a joke. It was always, don't call me Name Ass in 2023. I know... Oh, okay, there's a screen caps literally right here. Duh. Okay, so there's literal proof there. I must note, however, that in the recent years, I definitely started joking more openly about the name. Now, I cannot prove myself that this conversation didn't happen in 2023, but if it did happen, then the most likely reason Shayy cannot find evidence for it is because it either happened on a voice call or a Twitch chat. I implore Shayy to search the Frog Family Discord for the word redacted name ass to find that if they believed it to be true. Okay, I don't really care about this nickname stuff. I mean, generally speaking... it seems like they were flirting a bit when Shayy was 23 and this person was 17, and then once after this person turned 18 and Shayy became 24, they continued to flirt. I don't really care too much about anything that happens in their adulthood. Personally, I would say I care a little more about what happens when Shayy is 7, or when this person is 17, because it seems like Shayy has like this huge pattern of behavior of going after people that are like 17 years old while they're like within an inappropriate age range. So this is 2 instances of inappropriate behavior within an inappropriate age range and 2 alleged instances of sexual assault. So again, it does seem like Shayy just has like extreme boundary issues. And doesn't like it. I don't know. Like, worst case scenario, even if Shayy is, like, innocent from all of this, it does seem like Shayy is just a massive fuckboy. Or fuckboy. I think Shayy identifies as he, him, right? Shayy is they, them. Okay, fair enough, I guess. I didn't want to use the wrong pronouns, so I just wanted to double check on the Wiki2Bia page. And according to the Wiki2Bia page, it's they, them, so... That's what I'll try to refer to them as going forward. I don't think we need to read every single piece of this. I feel like this is just like I don't know, a lot of this is just like joking and flirting, which is like, okay, fine. This was the one of many exceptions I made for Shayy. Usually these things included more intimate or affection things like calling me cute. I hated anyone calling me this, but I made exceptions for them specifically. It made me feel special. I feel important to them. The same goes for being picked. I've openly discussed it. It's something used to do without my consent. I don't really care about this nickname shit. It's like really, it's just, this nickname stuff, I know I'm going to sound like an asshole, but like this nickname stuff really does not matter. I'm more concerned about the more serious stuff, which is sexual assault and potentially interacting with underage people within an inappropriate age range. So that's what I'm more concerned with personally. Power imbalance played big on my reaction to Shayy doing these things. I was more hesitant to say no, to upset, to confront. So just to be clear, we talk about this on the channel all the time, but I don't really care if a bigger content creator has big status and the person they're talking to feels compelled to, like, I don't know, be more sexual or be more, like, flirtatious as a result of that. That means nothing to me. You know, if we were to cancel people for every single power dynamic, then every single celebrity that exists is a predator. Every single athlete that exists is a predator. I feel like when we talk about the power imbalance or, like, power dynamic arguments online, it's very stupid. It's not exactly the most productive conversations ever. I really don't care. It means nothing to me. There's a difference between a content creator being famous and then you liking them because they're famous versus you liking them being famous and then they leverage that power against you. So if Shayy was specifically like, hey, if you don't fuck me, you can't be part of this community anymore, or if you do fuck me, I'll give you like moderator or VIP in this community, that would make it predatory. That would be an abuse of a power dynamic, and that would be problematic. So I'd be specifically looking for instances like that. But like just a normal power imbalance, I'm not really gonna shit myself over, to be brutally honest. Yeah, not gonna lie, so far this Anonymous 1 section kind of just seems like a bit of a nothing burger. It seems like there was like a bunch of joke stuff, which doesn't really matter that much, to be brutally honest with you. I kind of just don't care about that. Why was I afraid to speak up about Shayy? There is a situation I will not give details about that occurred in late 2024 that involved me finding out a dynamic between Shayy and someone else that was sexual in nature, alright? The person, victim number 7, I guess this is anonymous number 7, is that what you're referring to? Came to me in confidence about their feelings. And because of the guilt of keeping my knowledge about it from Shayy, and my wanting to help and sort of the situation out as someone who cared about both of them as friends, I told them what I knew. The reason I specifically bring this up is because Shayy's reaction to me knowing this information was one of the biggest reasons I was terrified to confide anyone about our interactions in both the past and present. Okay. They repeated to me that that the interactions what the fuck? The interactions they had were personal and private, cited how it would have made me uncomfortable to read them because I'm airways, and said that it made them uncomfortable that the person in question came to me they knew I was close with without their consent instead of talking to other people. Okay. Situation wasn't on the back of my mind until recent. Okay. Shayy had a pretty large paranoia and trauma over people talking behind their backs and vague posting expressed to me multiple times during our friendship. Okay. Shayy made it a point to tell me multiple times. So it seems like Shayy had trauma doing that. It's possible that maybe Shayy had like this fear of being canceled. It's definitely likely. And I wouldn't doubt that like Shayy absolutely used like Star Smiley or Aspen or whatever. Not Star Smiley, sorry. I wouldn't doubt that like that Aspen person we saw earlier, I wouldn't doubt that Shayy used them for sexual interaction for sure. And that feels shitty for sure. I would say Aspen's narrative is generally speaking like more credible. But so far, like reading all of this, it's just like the only thing out of this part of the Anonymous 1's document is the fact that they were 17 while Shayy was like 23 and they were like flirting at that time inappropriately. Which is gross for sure. But I'm also, again, it just goes to show that like Shayy kind of just has like this really, like Shayy definitely has a lot of boundary issues. I would be triggering their trauma if they ever found out. Okay, alright. I don't... okay. Interesting. Alright. Shayy and other people's hair. I don't care. I'm gonna skip that. I don't care. Shayy and other people's hair. It's like literally your hair looks so amazing. It doesn't matter. Like none of that matters. I don't care. Did anything weird ever happen in trusted chat? Okay, yeah, this is the chat that Anonymous 1 got added to for reference. I'm sure you can find odd examples of Shayy misbehaving and being sexual in trusted chat. I think everyone is guilty of having those moments despite the fact that we had children there. I'm going to mention this instance, though, because I remember it extremely clearly and have evidence to prove that it happened. September 6th of 2024, a conversation was had about masturbation in the vent channel. Me and others were participating in the conversation, which I'm aware I shouldn't have been partaking in either, but someone who also was a participant of Shayy. And what's worst is that there is proof that 2 of the minors saw these messages, were present. Both of them were 17. Okay. So, to be honest with you, yeah, I don't care, personally. I know that sounds weird to me. I don't care. The reason why is in the vent channel or in like the trusted channel, like, yeah, they probably shouldn't be there. And I agree that Shayy should have better boundaries with minors. But it's like I've been on Discord servers that were 18 plus when I was a minor at one point. And I've accessed things that were 18 plus when I was a minor. And I'm not really traumatized by it. And I'm sure a lot of minors are not traumatized from seeing stuff that is like inherently 18 plus. From like vent conversations with like masturbation and stuff. I agree that it probably shouldn't be happening, but I'm also not really shitting my pants over it because I don't really see this as like super traumatizing on its own. So I kind of just like don't care, not gonna lie. I know that sounds very weird to me. It shouldn't happen, but this is not really like a condemnation of Shayy in general, this in particular instance. You could definitely make the argument that like Shayy does have like a pattern of behavior of just like absolutely just having boundary issues when it comes to minors. And I do agree that Shayy definitely has boundary issues. You could definitely make that argument. But I don't really think this on its own is like enough for me to be like, you know what I mean? So what was the most recent example of Shay's behavior? Between May 7th and May 8th of 2025, this happened at night, so it carried from one day to the next of my time zone. For everyone else, this would have been May 7th. I had responded to Xander's usual hello bottoms in my iPhone message, so for the obvious reason that I do not identify with the label bottom, I have never personally jived with the idea of being labeled as such, and that is something that Shayy has playfully argued since we became friends. They even once teased that I was becoming like Redacted 1, who regularly got called a bottom. I don't know any of these characters because there's so many Redacteds and Anonymouses, and I'm not even going to bother putting brain power into it, to be honest with you. It's like they so badly wanted me to be someone I am not, and that is always someone who made me feel somewhat uncomfortable. I tried my best to push against this when I could. Anyhow, soon after I responded, Shayy teased that I was a bottom for whatever reason. This prompted me to tease back about a tweet I had made on my private Twitter. So fantastic, I have to unprivate this to prove what happened. Okay, so it's embarrassing, I have to admit. And then you were talking about a sexual tweet and then talking about sex positions. I assume you guys are like 18. You're 18 at this point, so it's like whatever. Okay. I am genuinely so afraid of being manipulated into situations without my consent or being forced. I mean, it seems like you guys were talking fairly fine, generally speaking. I don't really think you were manipulated or coerced into this. There's definitely inappropriate behavior from Shayy when flirting with some of these minors, but it's still like, I don't really know if this is like that. I don't know. It's like not really that anything crazy. Yada yada yada. Okay. I'm gonna just hold on. I'm gonna pause the video and I'm gonna briefly skim through this to see if there's anything else worth reading, because if not, I'm gonna go to the screenshots because I'd rather actually see some proof instead of like some level of testimony on this, because the way they have this laid out is a little bit strange. I'm not gonna lie. I would have preferred to have like, you know, the paragraph and then like a screenshot attached next to it because it's more digestible to do it that way. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Listen, I'm not trying to be an asshole, but like, I don't mean to be an asshole to this like anonymous number 1 person, but like, based on like skimming through the rest of this document off recording, it just doesn't really seem like anything really happened to this person. I'm not trying to be an asshole, but it's like I really don't think it's like you're saying it began when I was 18, impressionable, and looking up to someone who had influence over others. I don't care. I don't care. You're a legal adult. It's time to start acting like a legal adult. Like, yes, you're dumb when you're 18. Yes, I consider you a kid when you're 18, but also you're a legal adult. It's not like you're some like hopeless minor. I would say the most, I guess, like the biggest allegation is like the flirting when you were like 17, which could show like a pattern of behavior from Shayy. So I'm gonna be like, not to be a dick or anything, but I kind of just like don't really care about this anonymous one section. Not to be a dick or anything. I skimmed through it. It just seems like there's not really that much like worth talking about here. Shayy omitted some stuff from their original document, and that's probably fine. That's probably true. That's not when it's fine. When I said fine, I mean the presentation of information is fine from anonymous number one. That it probably is like true. I mean, we're not going to be able to see Shay's original response to it because it's deleted now, and like Shayy deleted all their socials. So yeah. If you are under 18, but it doesn't matter because like you were a legal adult when most of the sexual stuff happened. So like I kind of just don't care. Like the flirting that when you were 17 was very inappropriate. I agree, and it shows like an inappropriate pattern of behavior. But I'm not really like, I don't know. I might be like one of the very few people that's like not really shitting my pants over these like too much. Again, if the allegations of sexual assault are true, then that's extremely damning. Like that's very like but again, there's not even like evidence that Star Smiley posted that there was like any of the interactions. And then Aspen apparently was also allegedly sexually assaulted. It's not good if any of these are true. Those seem to be the most damning and predatory parts of Shayy, I would say. But everything else, like, I was freshly 18 or whatever, and when they were, like, interacting with me or whatever, I don't care. You're a legal adult. Like, quit being a baby. Sorry. Oh, jeez. There's, like, screenshots here. There's proof that this happened. I'm going to just quickly, like, skim through these screenshots. I don't think I'm going to read every single one of them, because I do want to get through this document. We do have a lot to get through, so there's been some redacted parts to protect parties. Okay, fair enough. All right, so thank you for the lovely drawing of the day. Made my night. So that's when you guys interacted. Happy birthday. Need to distract from my bad feelings, all that stuff. Grr, mad. How well is my career going with my bank account? I'm mad that I have a fat ass. Okay, I mean, that's just like, it is what it is, I guess. There's that. Brighten because the screenshot's dark as fuck. Yada, yada, yada. Okay. Bullshit, you're smart enough. Okay. More. Yep. This person has given me consent to share the screenshot and speak about what I have. Okay. Brought this up to somebody else's name. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, this is just, like, strange. You know what I mean? This is, like, weird, like, there was, like, some flirting when they were 17 years old. I think that's inappropriate. That's wrong. Don't do that. But, I'm kind of just, like, it's whatever. I don't think it should happen. I think it's gross. It's disgusting. You shouldn't do it. But also, I'm not really, like, I don't know, man. It's just, like, one of those things where it's, like, it's really gross. It could be predatory. It could be, it definitely, like, could be predatory, definitely. And I do think that the sexual assault stuff, I really would like to know if those are legitimately true. But it does seem like it's going to be a lot of he said, she said regarding the sexual assault stuff, so I don't imagine it's going to be, true. I really don't like how Anonymous 1 laid this out, I gotta be honest. Like, you're citing all the, like, screenshots as, like, proof for 51, but, like, it actually makes it more difficult to navigate your document, to be brutally honest. Like, it's actually better if you just, like, put the screenshot attached with the text. Generally speaking, I think it just makes it easier because it's right in front of the reader. Okay, yeah, cool, whatever. So these are all the, like, receipts for, what apparently is, like, alleged in the written statement, most of which I kind of just don't care about, to be honest with you. Aside from maybe, like, flirting when they were 17, which is very shitty and gross. But, again, I'm also, even then, it's, like, kind of, like, I don't know. It's, like, tough to... Maybe I'm just, like, not as worked up about this as, like, most people would be. I don't know. Like, I feel like... you know, the way some people laid this out where they're like, I was freshly 18 when more of the sexual stuff happened. Okay, well, if you were like 17 when actual sexual stuff happened, then that's gross because they're 23 years old. Again, Shayy has like a pattern of behavior of being gross with people who are like 17 than being more sexual like when they're 18, which generally speaking, I would say like if they're being more sexual when they turn 18, that kind of makes me care even less, to be like absolutely truthful with you. Because then that means, oh, well, then you're a legal adult when everything happens. So it's like, whatever. Since starting this document, I've completely scrolled through the entire history of me and Shayy's DMs. There's a shocking amount of interactions that are inappropriate, flirtatious. Well, I mean, yeah, inappropriate when you were 17. But when you're 18, I don't care about that, personally. Just to be absolutely clear. Message sent to Shayy 16th December. Okay. Is there any of this I have to read? No, I don't think so. I think this is just with anonymous one, so we could just skip this. Second, Shayy's second accountability, and then make accountability or whatever. Yeah, no, I think we can just skip this. I think we just skip anonymous one, honestly. There's a lot of stuff in anonymous one that I kind of just like don't care about. To be honest with you, I'm skipping most of it. It's just like a lot of that stuff kind of just like boils down to just like inappropriate flirting when they were 17 occasionally, and then being more sexual when they were 18. That's really what it all boils down to. Azarath's statement. I'm writing this today to clear up some things. Do what you will with this information. Please feel free to contact me. I've known Shayy for a long time, joining their community in 2021 and eventually becoming closer to them around late 2023. The relevant story here starts in June of 2024. At this time, I was reeling from a messy breakup with a partner who I've been advised many times was abusive to me. They were harassing me for a solid month or two after I broke it off. I was far too nice to just cut them off, so I kept pussyfooting around, hoping they would get off my ass. Shayy was completely aware of the breakup, knowing both of us well. From the breakup on, Shayy was continuously flirty with me. In one of our first conversations, I expressed that I was okay with it as long as it was kept platonic and specifically if Shayy doesn't get risque. When asked what my line was, I replied conservatively, anything more than a kiss on the cheek, you know. At one point soon, I asked Shayy for advice on matters regarding the aforementioned ex, and they proceeded to scold the individual in question lightly. Since we were both at summergames.quick at the time, they got rather touchy and cuddly with me as I was dealing with this. I'm not going to say I didn't consent at the time, but their behavior was quite a bit more forward than it should have been. They were actively guiding me to put my head in their lap, and a few days later they would explicitly, stated as such by them, feel up my ass. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, so we've got another sexual assault allegation. That's actually crazy. Now, this was very soon after I had outright stated my line for acceptable behavior. It should be quite clear that this action was over the line. Given an observed pattern of behavior that's come to light recently, it leaves a really bad taste in my mouth that they were so physically affectionate and flirtatious at the time. I was only 18 and incredibly raw. Okay, so just to be clear, I don't really care that you were... we gotta stop with this, like, I was 18, I was freshly 18 years old at the time. We gotta stop doing that, alright? You're a legal adult, okay? Now, if you were a minor, obviously that makes it worse, but you're a legal adult. I don't care. You're 18 years old, you're a legal adult. It's time to start acting like a legal adult, okay? Like, I get that you're young and you're gonna be stupid, but you can't just use that as, like, the only reason you include this, and I'm not trying to be an asshole, but, like, the only reason you include stuff like this is to get people to, like, feel bad for you a little bit more. And I feel like that's just a little bit, like, weird. Like, don't do that, all right? Again, the alleged sexual assault here is really bad, though. That is, like, the most damning part of this. But, like, the 18 years old part, don't care. You're a legal adult. In our first conversation after games done quick, Shayy called me hot and told me I had a nice butt. They also immediately stated, again, that they were okay with sexual activities with friends. I responded with disinterest, discomfort, and sexual acts, and also expressed my dislike for being called hot at the time. From then on, nearly every DM exchange with them would contain something flirtatious. Although it was nearly universally initiated by then, I would come to grow used to their expectation and preempt it myself on some occasions. Just as an example, in one conversation in August, they would send me the following string of messages as somewhat assented. I've been told I have a nice ass, but I want an adorable trans girl grabbing it. This applies to several things, to be honest. The fetishistic tone towards me being transgender sixed out, and the unneeded and explicitly unwanted sexual advances does as well. Yeah, no, the unwanted sexual advances part is definitely very not good, if that's true. And it seems like there's now 3 people accusing Shayy of sexual assault to some capacity. And that, to me, I would say that adds a lot of more credibility to these allegations, even if there are some parts of these allegations that I'm kind of rolling my eyes at a little bit, where they were like, I'm freshly 18 and all this stuff. Like, I am rolling my eyes at those parts. But it seems like the fact that, like, multiple people are accusing Shayy of unwanted sexual advances, like sexual assault and stuff, definitely not good. I would say that it is the most damning part. I would say that Shayy absolutely just has huge boundary issues, 100%. Like, very, very huge boundary issues. Other than that, this was a routine exchange for us. Scores of similar instances would occur in the previous and following month. Again, in DMs in August, they called me a bottom, and I responded that I am apathetic and ambivalent to indicate disinterest in the topic as a whole. I honestly never really enjoyed the flirting. It's just something I did for their own fulfillment. Though I did feel mildly pressured to do so. To stay in good standing with a friend. I didn't partially hate it at the time, so I went along. I would express this in a conversation in August, a few days after the previous quoted one condensed. Shayy, you might have been broken. You might have broken my brain a bit. You know, you really chose the wrong person for this, you know. Lamau, what do you mean? It's mutual. Arguable. What do you mean? Look, man, I'm being entirely real. This is fun, but I think you get a lot more out of this than me. Not to say I dislike it. Okay, I mean, you don't dislike this, but, okay, I guess, I don't know, whatever. Honestly, I'm mostly just playing along, same. It feels as if I'm mostly just playing along was entirely a lie looking back, but that's neither here nor there. 1 week later, Shayy would initiate a DM exchange by saying you're cute, signaling that nothing had changed. I would reject advances or try to subvert them so as to be humorous and not flirting more and more in the next period. I would express that I was doing so intentionally. The flirting continuously made me more and more uncomfortable as it went on. Around the turn of the year, I would start responding even more coldly at times, ignoring advances and simply responding with a friendly tone. By many accounts, this caused them to seek more attention from others, which seems to be a pattern with their victims. They would continue to solicit with occasional reciprocation flirting from me for some time. Perhaps the most egregious example came in January 2025 when they stated that they had, again, used a body hair removal product I had recommended. They asked me if I wanted to see the results, and curious of the effectiveness, I said sure, expecting a tame picture as had been previously been exchanged on the subject. They sent me a picture, spoiled and marked thigh warning. Okay. A photograph was fully nude and showed most of their body obscuring genitals. Okay, I mean, there's a warning on the nude, so I don't know. I mean, you shouldn't send nudes non-consensually. It's definitely gross to do that. But also, I guess... Okay, yeah, because you were talking about, like, a hair removal product. I don't know. Okay, interesting. Alright, so, yeah. Alright, yeah, so I would say this is definitely a non-consensual nude, for sure. Because if you read the context, right, it's January 2025 when they stated that, if they wanted to see, again, a body hair removal product that they recommended. They asked if I wanted to see the results, and curious of the effectiveness, I said sure, expecting a tame picture as we had previously been exchanged on the subject. They sent me a picture, spoiled and marked thigh warning. Yeah, so essentially that just means that, like, they were under the impression they were going to see, like, a hair removal product, but instead they got a nude. So that's gross. Again, this just goes to show, if you take this at face value, and again, this Azareth person is not really showing any proof here, so it's hard to take it with face value, but there are now 3 people accusing Shayy of sexual assault now here. And it does seem like I wouldn't doubt that these happened, to be honest with you. I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, Aspen showed proof. Anonymous showed some proof. Star Smiley and Azareth are now giving like testimony of their experiences, even though they haven't shown any proof. I will say, like, the fact that there are very similar stories of Shayy giving like explicit, you know, being like a huge sexual deviant, quite frankly, I wouldn't doubt that there is like a level of credibility to these claims. I wouldn't doubt it. This photo was clearly meant to be in a sexual context. It was posed suggestively, and they put up a peace sign, as they often do in regular selfies. I guess the picture was originally intended to be posted on their second suggestive Twitter alt, which has been deleted. Let me once again state for the record that I explicitly did not want a sexual relationship of any sort with Shayy. That's a bit of a tough sell. You said that you didn't dislike it here. So, I don't know. I mean, you say you didn't explicitly want a sexual relationship. You said you didn't dislike it, though. So, I mean, again, you do have to set better boundaries. I get that you're 18 years old and, you know, you're still, like, exploring relationships to some capacity, but you do have to set hard boundaries. Even if you may not have wanted the sexual relationship, but you're telling them that you don't dislike it, that is, like, a form of, like, you know, letting them know that it's okay. That doesn't excuse the alleged sexual assault that happened earlier that you're leveraging here. The sequence of events that have afflicted me was the most recent. I started dating a former partner, Willie J, which was referenced here, at the end of February 2025. They're strictly monogamous, as I am. This should have been well known to Shayy, given that Shayy and Willie are longtime friends, and a previous breakup of Willie's was pretty explicit about differences in that. Shayy knew the aforementioned previous partner of Willie's quote too well. On March 17th, Shayy DM'd me and asked, among other nice ties in DMs, whether I was still okay with friend flirting. Given that I was then in a relationship, I dodged the question. It made me very uncomfortable. However, I probably did too good of a job hiding that. On April 9th, they messaged me again, starting the conversation by simply replying boop in their message request for flirting. Yep, okay, so that's obviously flirting. Again, you were 18 years old, you're a legal adult at the time, so that's fine. And you weren't seemingly setting hard boundaries here, so this seems to be fine for the most part. But like I said, there are some really serious allegations here, but there are also some really stupid allegations here. It's like very strange. They did the exact same boop again on April 24, while also indicating that it was their second time bumping the question. This pressure to respond made me feel intensely anxious, and this time I would flatly deny their request, saying no and flirting is not comfortable. On May 15th, they checked in on me again. Early in this exchange, they would ask again for reflection and flirting. Just my brain checking again. Cuddling was a no, right? My brain is deep fried the past few days. This really struck me as strange. Not only that I had flatly denied the request not a month prior, but also because it was very recent in our message history. It would be less than 50 messages. Okay. I think that's less than 50 messages. Yep. You barely had time to scroll to find it. This felt not like an attack, but a second check for safety. But more like an attempt to coax me into eventually relenting. This repeated crossing of boundaries until one... Okay, so just to be clear, again, you say repeated cross of boundaries, but, like, you haven't set any hard boundaries to begin with. Like, how can they be crossing boundaries if you're not actually setting any boundaries? So, I don't know what to say. Like, it's, again, I wouldn't doubt that, like, Shayy does have boundary issues in general, but in this case, I'm not really seeing any, like, boundary issues based off your own testimony. Just to be clear. Sometime after, on July 15th, my partner and I would break up for reasons irrelevant here. Just know that it was not a conflict. It was heart-wrenching for the both of us, and that it took a while to recover from. Shayy knew this and paid it no mind. On July 30th, a group of several friends took a trip to Cedar Point, including Shayy, Willie, and I. The first night we were in the cabin all together, I was sitting on the couch near Willie, entirely ignoring all context and not even shooting me a glance to see if I was alright. Shayy sat next to me in a spot such that we were quite snugly together to try to lean in. If this sounds like a mistake, please note that they would later state explicitly it was an attempt to get cuddly. Okay. I assume this is in their original document. I did not want to be next to them, and they did not they did not whatsoever ask if it was okay. Okay. As such, I tried to move away slightly, and upon that was not effective, I left my seat rather quickly. This incident even left a more sour taste in my mouth. Given other instances of similar behavior I know, it was almost as if they were intentionally ignorant of consent and boundaries and they wanted to gain what they wanted. Yeah, I mean, it's weird, for sure. It's definitely weird that they were, like, going in to try to cuddle with you, and it's definitely, like, it's weird, for sure. And given the other alleged instances of sexual assault, it seems like Shayy definitely, I wouldn't doubt that, like, if all the other allegations of sexual assault are true, they might, like, they might move in on you that way, if that makes sense. I wouldn't doubt it. I'd like to take a moment to confide in the reader on a more personal note why I think I went along with this for so long. Perhaps you'll find this relevant, perhaps not. Just putting it in for context for posterity. My first partner, 2023-24, exhibited obsessive, possessive, and coercive behavior towards me and most of our relationship. Would get extremely upset I didn't respond in 10 minutes, constantly love-bombed me and expected me to same in return, would pick fights with me over talking at all to other people, often requested acts that I was explicitly not comfortable with and had to repeatedly deny, etc. You get the point. At a point, you start feeling comfortable and safe, confined to this behavior. Stockholm Syndrome. Okay. It's routine. It doesn't get you in trouble. It's not negative. Besides, if you step out, you'll be scolded like the wrath of God. You're trapped. I finally had enough and left after all of this, and was in dwindling amounts of denial after it until very recently. You'll recall that Shayy started coming out to me mere weeks after this breakup. It's also worth noting that Shayy would later downplay my ex's behavior, calling it merely immature, just needing some attention, to paraphrase. The way Shayy behaved towards me was eerily similar to this. I felt forced to respond. They constantly love-bombed me, yet they respected me as a person. They would act antsy when I didn't respond, double texting, tripling down on advances when I was cold. They would ignore me, rejecting them, and act like they were keeping me safe by prodding over and on again. They had power over me, mentally and logistically. It felt comfortable to me. Familiar, safe, predictable, easy, even when I hated it. That's all. Okay. Finally, I'd like to touch on how utterly disrespectful Shayy was towards me and others involved coming forward with this on the recent months. Please note this section is heavily opinionated, and the reader may have not have the same takeaways I did, which is fine, just a disclaimer. For context, I left Shayy's server in early and mid-September after hearing accounts of wrongdoing from a friend, and a few people also did at the same time. Just as I left their server, Shayy quickly issued an apology, like in a panic. I'm sorry for whatever I did. I valued you a lot, and you were always kind to me. Thank you for that. Frankly, this felt terrible to read. Hopefully, it's self-evident that I'm sorry for whatever it is that I did is barely an apology. I hadn't even said anything about Shayy. So it seems like Shayy knew that some of the stuff they were doing was wrong. It seems like they knew that, like, the sexual assault stuff or whatever was, like, wrong or to some capacity, and that maybe they were terrified that it would come out about them to some capacity. I would send the following message. I want to write a real apology, not whatever that previous written in a panic of in the middle of a panic attack thing was, but something that was actually meaningful. I am sorry about how badly I overstepped our bounds. I stupidly took seemingly okay with this as an excuse to try to go further, even though I should have known that isn't true consent, and it wasn't right to do so with somebody that was emotionally reeling from a breakup. I had assumed that because we cuddled so much, that GDQ, that we were closer than we should have. I was getting mixed signals about my behavior moving forward, and I should have immediately stopped and questioned. I should have immediately asked and said, are you okay with this before escalating? But I didn't, and that's such a massive failing of me. Like I said, I would say the only big part of all of this is that you know, there was like an alleged sexual assault earlier that was definitely not okay. Like they moved in to grab your ass, which is definitely like a form of sexual assault if it was non-consensual, and it seems like it was. But overall, everything else seems to be just like shitty behavior is what I'm getting at from this. So I think we're going to move on from this. We're going to move on to Anonymous 3, and there's 11 fucking pages in this. Oh my god, dude. Why? What is with you people in making long fucking Google Docs, dude? I had to read like 1,000 pages of Cinder, which was like nothing burger high school drama, and now I'm reading like this. Granted, these allegations seem a little more serious than the Cinder stuff, admittedly, because there's allegations of sexual assault here, so there's definitely a little more substance to this than the Cinder stuff, but like still. Oh my god, I fucking hate long Google Docs. It really sucks that like there's not a YouTuber out there that like covered this in a way that was like digestible, you know, that I could like react to a video in a way that I could digest, so I didn't have to like go through this myself, but oh well. Alright, we might as well get through it, right? I mean, no time to waste. Hi, I'm Anonymous3, a former moderator and friend of Shayy. I've been close friends with them since early 2021, and I've remained quiet about things for a long time. Here are things as they laid out as clear as I can in chronological order. Thank you. Short disclaimer, this is a revised version of the private doc I wrote to Shayy and their close friends, altered purely for the privacy of all involved. I did not want to write this, and if it were saved to, I would not release this anonymously. However, because of the sheer scale that I know this will reach, I know there are people who would attack me for this. This doc was initially written between November 7th and the 17th and was altered for public viewing on the 18th and 19th. As much as I wanted this to remain a private issue, Shayy's actions can no longer be hidden from the world. I want everyone to know what they have done. As of November 18th, I have left their community entirely, as well as the greater Undertale/Deltarune community. It felt my arm was twisted, forcing me to stand up for myself after years of brushing everything off as just a mistake. The actions they took prior to the publication of this appear to me that they either do not understand how deeply their actions affected myself and others, or that they refuse to acknowledge it. The lies and obfuscation and the downplaying forced me all to stand up for myself and tell my side of the story, and to tell all of it. Many incidents discussed cannot be cited as they either happen in VCs or in person. Okay, okay, fair enough. I mean, like I said, you know, Aspen gave like some screenshots of their interactions, and it seems like Aspen generally has a lot of credibility. Yeah, okay. Many incidents discussed cannot be cited and happen in person or... Okay, yeah, we read that. I am very aware that this is long. As this is the nature of something like this, it is your choice to hear out this side of the story in its entirety. I will try to reduce the bloat as much as I can, but there are nearly 5 years worth of incidents to discuss, so please listen to my perspective. Alright, I guess. The beginning. I first joined Shayy's community in July 2020. However, it wasn't until December I became active. Around that time, I was struggling with a friend group I felt left out of. While I do still talk to some of those old friends today, I definitely am not as close to them as I am with the people I met through Shayy's community. Upon joining Shayy's community, made me feel so warm and welcome. I finally found people that cared about me as much as I did them. I was regularly joining VCs, posting in art channel, being active in the stream chat, the whole 9 yards. I was going as far as to watch their streams at school and showing their videos to people in class. I would say I was a fangirl of sorts. It's important to understand at this point, until April 2021, I was just another 17-year-old who liked Undertale and Shayy's content. I was not entrusted, I was not modded. Okay, so you were 17, nothing explicit happened there. Alright, fine, I guess. But, like, Shayy was, you know, Shayy was flirting with 17-year-olds. That's basically pretty much confirmed with, like, Aspen, and that's pretty much confirmed with, like, Anonymous One, that there was, like, some level of flirting going on when they were, like, 17 years old, both of which were 17 years old. So, again, I think it's gross. I don't think a 23-year-old or a 22-year-old should be flirting with a 17-year-old. I think it's gross. And it definitely could be predatory, absolutely. But I do think it's, I don't know. The unfortunate reality is that, like, not all the age of consents... Thank you, Amazon Echo. Very cool. Not all the age of consents in America is 18, unfortunately. It's like 16 and 17. We do need to change that, though. I do agree. They need to be changed, and we need to increase it to 18. I actually think, quite frankly, we could increase it further, to be honest with you. I think 18 is, like, too young, personally, like, morally. So, yeah. She would personally go into my DMs and compliment my art regularly. Okay, these are screenshots. Did you draw that? Yep. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, so they're complimenting. Yeah, all right. Cool stuff. All right, so we have some proof here, to be fair. Okay. I felt included in something for once. This was the community I longed for. This was the friend group I dreamed of. I was finally part of a tight-knit circle of people. I wasn't an outsider. I never felt othered. I was just myself surrounded by people also just being themselves. Behavior towards a 17-year-old fan. Some things to keep in mind. I turned 18 on April 2nd, 2021. I was added to Trusted April 6th, 2021, 4 days after my birthday. I was modded on April 13th, 2021, 11 days after my birthday. Shayy first DM'd me on December 27th, 2020. However, it wasn't until February 2021 that we actually began to be closer and talked regularly. Both of us would be in the general VC for hours a day. Outside of the public VCs, Shayy would often DM me out of the blue. These DMs ranged from random memes ranting about how stupid people on Twitter, but for some reason they often had something to do with sexual topics. So this was like before you were 18. Okay, so how old was Shayy at this point? So you were 17. How old were they? I'm curious. All right, so I did the age calculator between Anonymous 3 and Shayy. That would mean that it is a 3-year, 10-month age gap, which would be closer to 4 years. In my opinion, 4-year age gaps I'm not a huge fan of 4-year age gaps. I think 4-year age gaps are inappropriate. So I think Shayy would have been closer to like 21 years old and this person would have been 17. I think that's inappropriate. I don't think that's a predatory age gap because if you look in a lot of the states of the United States of America, typically there is like some kind of Romeo and Juliet type law, which would excuse up to like a 4-year age gap, which I think is gross. I think it should be 3 years, generally speaking. But I don't think a 4-year age gap is like a predatory age gap. It's just an inappropriate age gap. 5 or 6 years is generally, I would say, predatory, so I think the previous age gaps could have been predatory. I didn't see anything explicitly predatory other than just, like, flirting. It was just gross, So, yeah, again, it's just another instance of Shayy's, like, inappropriate behavior. Again, it's seemingly inappropriate behavior. Shayy's conversations that led into sexual topics often were sparked by something completely innocent, such as March 26th, when they DM'd me about sussy hypnosis. And when I didn't understand what they were saying, they proceeded to explain the joke. I just make the assumption that everyone is a degen. I found out through a YouTube video that some people have a fetish for something called sissy hypnosis. Oh, it's sissy hypnosis. I think it's hilarious. So is it sissy or sussy? Sussy hypnosis. Okay, so I guess there's a typo in the document. Fair enough, I suppose. I've not been able to think of this stupid joke. Please send help. What are you saying? Lamau, just make the assumption that everyone's a degen. I found out through a YouTube video. Yeah, fucking fed. Okay, cool. Multiple people have come to me while writing this saying that Shayy has a thing with hair. Okay, I don't care about that personally. It's not a big deal. With that said, Shayy frequently had mentioned complimenting my hair. I guess if anything, the one thing I will say about the hair thing is if multiple people are saying it, then it does seem like there's a lot more credibility to that. Like, I guess some of the other allegations, if that's true, then some of the other stuff is likely going to be true as well. So that's the one thing I'll take away from that. But if Shayy illegitimately, unironically has a thing for hair, I don't care about that. If everyone's a consenting adult, I don't care. Seems like that there's like a lot of inappropriate age ranges, like 17 and 22, 17, 23. And now apparently with this mod, there's like a 17, 21 age gap, which again, 17-21 I don't think is appropriate. I wouldn't call that like a predatory age gap, but it's still very like wrong. I would say it's like kind of just gross. I'm literally standing up. What's up with the hairnet or the cover? Hair dye. Ooh, what color? Red, baby. I'm sure it'll look fucking great on you. I didn't bleach it because I'm not that fucking stupid. Def send a picture after it's done. Oh, absolutely. I'll be spamming every server with the pictures. I'm going to be pogging. It's going to be balling, bro. Let's fucking go. There's self-confidence we looking for. Oh, nice glasses, too. By the way, I'm terrible at compliments, lol, but you look really good. So, take that, idiot. Damn, okay. Posture check. Then there's a picture of a selfie. Look at that posture. Also, damn, looking good. The hair looks fucking fantastic. Not much else can be said about it. It was all within the realm of plausible deniability. It makes me disgusted. Well, I guess you wouldn't have known that before, but still. There isn't any firsthand evidence of this specific incident happening, as it was in a VC. At some point between January and March of 2021, I joined the general VC to see Shayy, Victim 6, and another person drinking. I turned on my camera, grabbed some Fireball, and joined in. I don't remember the exact date considering I was drunk. I only remembered I'm still 17. When Shayy was, and Victim 6 pointed out I was too drunk to drink, I gave several BS excuses along with the lines of, my parents bought it for me. In my state, it's legal to drink at any age if you're on private property. Apologies that my memory is so blurry to some of the details. Do note at this point in time, Anonymous 6 was only 19 and Shayy was 21 years old. Despite them both giving a short spiel about how underage drinking is bad, they did not kick me from the call or take the situation seriously. They did nothing about it. More than likely due to an impaired judgment. Shayy did nothing when Anonymous 6 joined VC already drunk, and then did nothing when a 17-year-old fan joined the VC and immediately began drinking as well. What? Not for nothing, but like, what do you expect Shayy to do in this situation? Because like, what, is Shayy on a Discord call going to be like, don't do that, don't drink, don't do that, how dare you do that? You know, again, I'm not really, like, you shouldn't underage drink, I agree, but I'm also not going to shit my pants over it because it's like, what do you expect them to do, right? Like, what do you expect Shayy to do? There's only so much that Shayy can do in this situation. They can't physically take away the bottle from them over a Discord call. You know, like, what do you expect them to do? Actually, like, what do you want them to do? You know, I was drinking alcohol since I was like 16. I'm not saying you should underage drink, but it's like, I'm really just not going to shit my pants over it, to be honest with you. It's like really not that, I actually just don't care about this personally. Now, believe it or not, this was actually a bad thing. While writing this doc, I discussed the incident with Anonymous 6, and she immediately apologized upon being reminded of it. She admitted to being extremely drunk when she initially joined the VC and continued drinking during it. To quote her statement during our discussion of this, think I was desensitized to seeing underage people treated as peers rather than children in there. Maybe I'm biased too, but someone absolutely should have stopped it. One of us needs to be an adult. Okay. As of writing this document, I'm in no contact with Shayy, so I cannot get their input on this situation. They never brought it up after it happened. Whether they were drinking before the call or if they started drinking in the VC because Anonymous 6 was, we may never know. Do note this was before I was given the trusted role or modded. I was just any other fan in their Discord. Anonymous 6 given me their explicit permission to cite our conversation and apology, and it has taken accountability for her lack of action in the situation, regardless of how many years ago it was. Again, I don't care about the drinking thing. This whole thing kind of just seems like a nothing burger. Months afterwards, while discussing their behavior towards me, Shayy had told me there was an unwritten rule that mods had to be 18 plus when I brought up my discomfort knowing they modded me right after I turned 18. Mods had to be 18 plus. Okay, interesting. With very little input from other existing mods. This interaction itself regarding my age happened in the VC, so no tangible evidence exists. My apologies for that. However, this rule was interesting, especially considering 4 other people that Shayy modded in 2021 were all under 18. A 17-year-old, 2 16-year-olds, and a 15-year-old. Why would Shayy lie to me about only modding adults? Why would Shayy wait until I was 18 when there was clearly okay with modding minors before and after I was modded? A similar sentiment was shared in 2023 during a discussion of modding Anonymous 1. Anonymous 1 being someone that Shayy has groomed. I did not see any grooming, just to be fucking clear. Like, listen, there is some weird stuff in this document. There's definitely, like, a pattern of behavior with Shayy that's really bad. But, like, I'm not seeing any fucking grooming with Anonymous 1. Like, I don't know, man. Can we, like, be normal about this? Can, like, people on the internet, like, actually be normal when talking about shit? Can we, like, actually, like, just be, like, can we, like, keep the situation where it's at? Like, I understand that, like, Shayy, like, has, like, alleged sexual assault that may or may not have happened. It's possible. I'm not denying that it happened, but I'm not saying it did happen either. But also, like, we don't need to go off the fucking deep end and say that, like, Shayy is, like, a horrific groomer. Okay, like, chill the fuck out. Like, grooming, by definition, is a very deep and methodical process of setting typically a child up for typically sexual exploitation, right? I'm not really seeing any grooming here. Like, typically, what you would see in grooming is, like, you try to separate them from all their support structures. You separate them from, like, their friends and their family. You try to get them to keep quiet about their experiences to some capacity. It doesn't really seem like there was any fucking grooming whatsoever. So, I'm not really, like, again, we gotta, like, not come at it with this, like, disproportionate energy, just to be clear. I've never publicly said this for many reasons, but at this point, it is unavoidable. When I was 13, I was heavily groomed and coerced into doing an ERP with someone far older than me, and this behavior was never prevented by the individuals witnessing it. Shay's behavior towards me was setting off the exact same red flags that my groomer had set. How? Specifically, how? I felt that I was en route to being groomed again. I would promptly start distancing myself from them and their community by proxy in an attempt to save myself. So, what this paragraph reads to me, I think that they probably were legitimately groomed at 13. You're definitely way more likely to be groomed at 13 than 17. And not to say you can't be groomed as a 17-year-old. You definitely can be. Again, you interacted with Shayy in, like, an inappropriate age range. Like, they were 21, you were 17. I'd say that's inappropriate. I'm not a huge fan of it. But I'm not really, like, shitting my pants over it. It's like, because technically it would be legal in most of the United States. You know, I'm not really shitting my pants over it. Like, morally, it's, like, it's weird, and I think it's wrong, but it's not, like, a condemnation in a vacuum. So, again, like, unless Shayy was, like, actively trying to separate you from other people, I highly doubt. I feel like you're just, like, listening more to the trauma back when you were 13 than you actually listening to your trauma when you're 17. Because, like, you know, if you're listening to red flags of things you experienced at, like, a younger age, you're listening to memories of a child. Not to say that they're invalid always, but in this instance, I'm not really seeing it. The first confrontation and everywhere else. On April 15th, I was added to a group chat with Anonymous 6 and 2 others in it. It was through this group chat that I would be shown some things that Shayy has done to Anonymous 6 just summer prior in 2020. I was immediately disgusted by the parallels to the way they interacted with her and the other way they interacted with me. The subtle sexual notes, the flirting, it was terrifying. The only difference was that with Anonymous 6 is that their messages had been a lot more overtly sexual because she was like 18 and 19 during these interactions, which means she would be a legal adult, so I don't care, personally. Had I not distanced myself, the conversations between Shayy and I would have gone the same direction, as made evident by their actions toward others in the following years. After all, I had just turned 18. Okay, well, anything that happens when you turn 18, I don't really care. Again, legal adults, I'm not really here for being like, oh my god, 18-year-old minor, oh no. I don't really, like, again, you're a legal adult. On April 20th, Shayy and I had our first confrontation about their behavior. I put my foot down after being shown that this was a recurring pattern with them, and they acted towards fans, especially if they were trying to effeminate an artist. If they were effeminate and an artist, okay? This was in 2021. Some people are down furiously bad. It seems like Shayy is projecting a little bit. Okay. All right, cool. I specifically noted in this conversation that I was uncomfortable with them referring to me by my IRL first name, sending me goodnight texts. I had only been their friend for 2 months and only knowing them for 4. Shayy specifically said that they had no romantic interest in me because they were in a relationship and I was lesbian. This was not comforting. It made me feel like one of those things was different. Then I would have a target on my back. Others have noted in their testimonies that Shayy likes a challenge. If someone is in a relationship, they're clearly not interested, or if Shayy doesn't fit in with their sexuality, they like it more. Their advances only get stronger the more you push back. Learning this was sickening, to put it nicely. Only 3 days later, on April 23rd, Shayy would send me another DM asking if everything was cool between us. Okay. I let them down as gently as I could, saying I wasn't quite ready to return to normal, citing I had a lot going on with my upcoming graduation. I will admit I worded my response poorly, as if I was too honest with them. It would be twisted to be my fault if I hurt them. This is a common sentiment many other victims shared. If you want Shayy, then it was all your fault, regardless of the reason. I conveniently did not say what I wanted. Say I wanted a break from their community, but that is as much as I wanted. And that is what I got. I completely stopped interacting with Shayy and their community until late of May 2021 after I'd finished high school. Okay. I was talking in the group chat daily at this point, and to say I was pissed at Shayy would be an understatement. I couldn't believe I let this happen to myself. We felt that we should not let this information stay private, so we made a group chat, the four of us, and Star Smiley, Shay's partner at the time. We explained everything to her. We brought screenshots, testimonies, and everything. Once our conversation with her was over, everyone left the group. This information clearly affected Star. Despite that, she and Shayy continued to date for about a month. Oh, yeah, and I think Shayy broke up with her and then got back. Yeah, we read that in Star Smiley's section of the document. I felt relieved almost. Case closed, you know. It was only a matter of time before Shayy and Star broke up. The coffin was closed. I was going to leave their community and never look back. I was going to move on, forget this ever happened. To act like this random speedrunner for a niche speed game never did anything to me, and anonymous sex. Everything would be forgotten in the lost of hasty sands of cyberspace. After all, what are the odds their channel would explode in popularity? That the very behavior we addressed would repeat with new fans. Yeah, like that would ever happen. But I didn't leave. By late May, I came crawling back. I didn't want to leave. I still cared so much about the people in the community. I started second-guessing everything I had gone through, thinking to myself, it was all a misunderstanding. What happened to Anonymous 6 was a misunderstanding. There was no ill intent. It was my fault for even thinking Shayy would do something insane as orbit or groom a fan. Again, I have not seen any grooming here, okay, just to be clear. All right, like, I really don't like the disproportionate energy we're coming at this with. Like, I wouldn't say what Shayy did here constitutes grooming, okay? I think that so far, alleged sexual assault may or may not have happened, multiple of them, and the inappropriate age ranges are what I care about the most, I would say. But even then, you know what I mean? I'm not, like, shitting my pants over, like, a 17 and a 21-year-old. The other age gaps could be bad, but I haven't really seen anything explicitly predatory from them. I just think it's wrong, you know, like Shayy flirting with them, with a 17-year-old while Shayy was like 22 and then 23 with another person. I think it was wrong. They aren't some cartoon villain. They just made a mistake. I really did feel like it was a misunderstanding. I told myself that bad ever happened anyways. That nothing bad ever happened anyways. Shayy actively fed into these thoughts. Anytime they recalled the situation, they would say it was all a misunderstanding of feelings, so I believe that it was just a misunderstanding for over 4 years. After all, Shayy wouldn't lie to me. Shortly after Shayy broke up with Star, they started dating with another artist. Yeah, we did see that earlier with Star Smiley. Yep, they gave the same testimony. And Shayy cited their breakup was mutual. She privately said otherwise. And she felt that Shayy stopped caring about her once they were official. Okay, interesting. Yep. From June onward, we pretend like this was a total misunderstanding that wasn't actually bad news anyway, that nothing ever happened. Everything went back to normal. The community remained the tight-knit circle of friends I always wanted, and I didn't even want anything to change. I had all my friends there, except Anonymous 6, but that doesn't matter. I was so close to other mods, and mods wouldn't hurt me or others. The mod that was a groomer. Oh no. Oh boy. In the early hours of February 14, 2022, Shayy, Uber, and some friends of myself all played Calamity into the night. Completely unaware at the same time, Willie would be notified that Uber was using his status as a mod in Shay's community as leverage over a 15-year-old grooming them. Oh, that's not good. The screenshots would be sent next day. The screenshots that I sent next day were appalling. It was miserable in every sense of the word. Someone I thought was a friend was doing this to people in our own community, completely under my nose. It tore me and other people and tore me to shreds. We hastily workshopped a vague corporate statement about why Uber was suddenly gone. Okay. Hey everyone, this is something I really wish I would never have to do, but this is extremely important. My community is from all sorts of people, all different types of people, different ages. This is a 13 plus server, and even though I've clarified my streams have mature, why not just make it 18 plus at that point? Like, why 13 plus? That's a little, okay, weird. All right. I do make sure that a lot of people in this place are comfortable and happy for everyone, but also notably safe. And as a result of very serious allegations brought to my attention this morning, I have unmodded and permanently blank from this community and every other community I'm in. These will not be made public as the people involved do not want that, but this is a very hard decision. Best we can. I'm writing this so that other people who have blank in their communities know what's going on. Please stay safe, and if anyone tries to take advantage of you or make you feel uncomfortable here, please let me or a mod know. I love you all. Take care of yourselves. Shayy seemed to completely shut down after this, going MIA, save for frequent venting. It served my trust with the server, and after this, I was never close to the community again. Try as I did, It was never going to be the same. In April, the very victim of Ubers, do we know how old Uber was? I mean, I still think that it's like, I don't know, like a 15-year-old, that's kind of gross. If Uber was like in their 20s, it's gross. I really slowed down talking in Shay's community, almost exclusively talking in there. I had finally had it. The tight-knit circle of online friends I trusted from everything. This would be where 90% of my future online interactions of Shayy came from. DMs from them were sparse since the initial incident in 2021, and I liked it that way. To date, I still talk in that server daily. It's where most of the people on Discord, it's where most of my time on Discord is spent anymore. This server means so much to me, and the people who aren't doing it have an easy time contacting me, especially if they know, if they are from Shay's community. Nothing weird was ever happening to me and Shayy, to my knowledge, and they had curbed their unsavory behaviors and habits. Everyone that had trusted them. Okay, cool. Games done quick. Oh boy. Okay, so this could be like another sexual assault allegation potentially if there's another games done quick event. Okay. After begging my mom to understand I was 19 and capable of making smart decisions, I was going to attend my first ever GDQ in June of 2022. I roomed with Shayy, Star, and Pleb, a mutual friend, and only two things happened. The first was before the event began. We agreed that we would be buying a room with 2 queen beds, Shayy and Star sharing one, Pleb and I sharing another. Shayy changed these arrangements right before buying the room. They didn't say anything about it until after they bought me the room. Instead of having 2 beds, they bought a room with a single king-size bed for them, and Star saying Pleb and I could share a pull-out couch. This fucking sucked. I have genuinely never slept worse in my entire life. But Shayy got their king-size bed with their girlfriend. I was the bad person, thinking that they should have let Pleb have a bed. I asked if we could at least rotate beds, or if Pleb could at least rest in the bed, and if Shayy and Star weren't in the room. We were told no, and that there would be no negotiations. This entire week, I didn't sleep longer than 3 hours a night. That sucks. The other incident at SummerGames.quick was shortly after Shayy, Pleb, and Vel, another mutual friend of all of us, I went to a hotel hot tub. After we returned to Shay's room, I immediately went into the bathroom to change out my swimsuit into my regular clothes. Then Vel changed in the bathroom, then Pleb. Star was already in the room, laying in bed. Then, while grabbing food from the fridge, I hear Shayy say, "Don't look," from behind me. With no elaboration. Now, I don't know about you, but when someone says not to look at something, most people's first reactions is to look, by the way, and they said not to look. They already stripped down. I mean, not necessarily. If you say don't look when somebody is like naked or whatever, then I don't look, at least, you know, like I usually respect people's boundaries when like people don't want to be seen naked, you know what I mean? Like I don't look at all. So Pleb, Vel, and myself all turned our heads and were greeted with Shayy bent over completely naked. Incredible. Their bare ass out for everyone to see. Damn, that's crazy. Shayy, instead of apologizing and changing in front of everyone, claimed that it was everyone else's fault for turning around when they said not to. Yeah, I mean, they made it clear not to. You guys said not to look. Mind you, Vel was 16 and facing Shayy. Dude, what do you want me to say? I'm sorry, but, like, what do you want me to say? Like, I'm sorry. This is like, when someone says not to look, you don't look. That's pretty explicit, and you fucking looked. I don't know what to tell you. Like, what do you want me to do? Have a moral meltdown over this? I'm sorry. This is a nothing. There's nothing here. Okay, what is this fucking diagram? Okay. Pull-out couch. Shayy. They said not to look. I mean, the bathroom is right there. At the very least, you could just change in the fucking bathroom. I don't know. Okay, whatever. I don't know. Alright. The bathroom was empty. They could have gone in there and changed like the rest of us did, or even in the corner of the room. They could have just specified that they were changing and no one would have looked. However, they did none of that. Okay, I don't know. Like, even then, I just don't care about this. This is like nothing. I don't care. I'm sorry. I don't care. I don't care. This is like nothing. It's not like they were trying to get you to see their ass. They said don't fucking look or whatever, and then they blamed, like, I don't know. It just seems like a very awkward interaction. Like, what do you want me to say? AGDQ 2025. I believe January 11th, Shayy and I were in Anonymous 6's hotel in a room with a handful of other people. Anonymous 6 did not want Shayy in her room only that she let them in because if she knew Shayy wasn't there, then she'd want to hang out with if she hadn't been there. She witnessed everything I'm about to say, but unaware of how this affected me. Yada, yada, yada. Okay. I'm still shaken up by the whole thing. Okay, hold on. Wait, let me read this. Shayy and I were laying in a spare bed next to each other. I was doom scrolling on TikTok while Shayy started to inch closer to me. Okay, I inched away, wanting personal space. I rarely okay with platonic cuddles, and especially so as I had a partner at this point. Shayy continued to move closer and closer anytime I was moving further away. Trying to stay calm and keep my composure while nearly falling out of my bed, I turned my back to Shayy as sort of a nonverbal, hey, I want my distance. I didn't want to speak up and cause a scene. Turning my back to them was instead seen as an invitation to some sort to Shayy, and then curled up behind me, spooning me. To make this even worse, I could feel their dick on my leg. I sat there terrified of what they were going to do. They ignored every single sign that I was uncomfortable. Yeah, okay, that's gross. I mean, it definitely seems like Shayy was trying to make moves. It definitely is, like, very, very gross for sure. They didn't see that this was freaking me out. I sat there horrified. Are they going to grope me? Are they going to start grinding on me? What should I do? What the fuck do I do? After a minute or two, I got my bearings and got up, and I decided I had no choice but to make a scene, loudly asserting that I wanted my personal space. Shayy was confused. They saw nothing wrong with what was happening. I immediately felt that it was my fault this was happening. If I let them have their way, I wouldn't have upset them. I upset them by making a scene. I was still shaken up by the whole thing, masking my uneasiness, trying to stay happy and treasure what little of the event was left. Shayy noticed this. They proceeded to come and give me a hug. I pretended to be comforted by it, but not hurt their feelings. Cool, cool, cool. D-Day and the aftermath. After Anonymous 1 came forward about Shayy grooming him, there was no grooming in the Anonymous 1 stuff, just to be clear. I like, skimmed through most of it. It's just, there's no grooming. I'm sorry. Shayy attempted to take accountability for any potential harmful actions towards myself and others. They DM me to apologize for wrongdoings. Okay. Shayy apologized and emphasized how it made them feel bad, how much it hurt them to know that they did this to me, how much it ate away at them. It was a full-blown pity party. It didn't matter and it hurt me. Okay. Just seems like this is like aftermath stuff. Cool. Okay, I think that's pretty much it for Anonymous 3. It seems like there was like more unwanted advances towards the end, which is very gross. I don't think that this particular instance would be a form of sexual assault. But it's still very gross. It definitely, I wouldn't doubt, like, if other instances were claiming sexual assault, I wouldn't doubt if she said nothing, it would have escalated to that, potentially. Again, I don't doubt that, like, Shayy just has, like, extraordinary boundary issues. Another 11 pages? Oh my god. Why do Google Docs have to be so fucking long, dude? Okay, please pray to me I don't have to read that much. Okay, it's just screenshots. Okay. Okay, whew. Alright. So, like, a majority of them are just screenshots that we can get through. Okay. Alright. So, it's not as, I guess, it's not 11 pages in the traditional sense. We can rest. Alright, we're good. Hey, Willie J. Willie here. I haven't been impacted like the others have, but I wanted to give a detailed interaction with Shayy that might shed some light on the way some may feel about speaking up against Shayy in the past. In early 2023, Shayy had posted some pictures in a private Twitter account, started out simply minorly, is that even a word? Minorly? Revealing, showing some skin in a way that was not bad at all, citing happiness with their body and a focus on body positivity. These photos would become increasingly more revealing and potentially suggestive, culminating in a picture being sent in mid-April of 2023, which to many went way too far. The extent of my knowledge, no record of actual image exists to this day, but unfortunately, the image is forever etched into my memory. The image specifically was frontal, bare midriff thighs with genital obscured. While not explicitly NSFW, it was the kind of image that borders on that category in every way imaginable. While the purpose of this is the only detail of that confrontation afterwards, I found it very concerning that minors were able to plainly see that image. On April 17, 2023, a conversation in Shayy's trusted Discord started to intentionally not not having an NSFW channel in the Discord. I use this as an opportunity to address my concerns about the content previously mentioned on their private Twitter account. I'll send pictures of that confrontation here. Okay, but genuinely, while it's on the topic, I do not think that that should be posted in a Twitter without a spoiler tag or whatever. It did have a spoiler tag, so Lamau. Wait, but the second one didn't. No, I'm talking about the most recent one that you sent. Alt Twitters are for people who are willing to see anything. Oh, I mean, it's not NSFW, so yeah, I mean, it wasn't NSFW. I opened up my private flashed with suggestiveness and quickly looked away. Also, hi, trusted. I mean, it isn't outright cock, but like, yeah, this. It's not NSFW. Twitter doesn't have a suggestive label, it just has a nudity one. I'm going to destroy Elon Musk. Also, it makes some people not see the tweet for some reason. Anyway, thanks for... Anyway, can I just be myself on my private Twitter? Oh, thanks. Of course, silly. I personally wasn't expecting it. Good thing I wasn't in a public space when I checked out his recent selfie. I felt confident about a picture I took. I wanted to post it there. I mean, more power to you. I just wasn't expecting it. If I had a spoiler tag or anything suggestive, where's the line with that? It is his alt. Like, I'm not saying there should be anything expected, but I don't see a problem with it. There wasn't any nudity or anything. Does my stomach count as suggestive? I don't really know. If I get shirts that show my midriff in the future, you bet I'm posting that shit on my alt. Sorry, I just don't like being told that I did something wrong when I didn't do anything wrong. Couple of notes here. I was made to feel crazy for thinking that something like this was happening that was wrong. I was made to think I was incorrect for speaking up about this. Shayy uses lack of visibility on a post as an excuse to not tag their content. The last line speaks loudly. Sorry, I just don't like being told something I did wrong when I didn't do anything wrong. Equivocating the image that was posted just as an exposed stomach was grossly irresponsible. I really wish you would just tell me directly if something made you uncomfortable instead of bringing up like a discussion that making me feel embarrassed. Okay. It just seems like Shayy is just like kind of arguing between like what is or isn't a suggestive photo here. That's kind of like what this all boils down to. I just don't really care about this. Personally, I don't think this is like anything. Again, the only thing I really care about this entire Shayy situation is the alleged sexual assault, you know, the extreme boundary issues that Shayy has. And again, I definitely agree that Shayy has huge boundary issues. Like, Shayy just does not seem to care about other people's boundaries. And there's like a huge pattern of behavior of Shayy just not giving a fuck about people's boundaries. There does seem to be some allegations of sexual assault. There's a lot of inappropriate age gaps of flirting and stuff too. I'm not seeing any grooming. I just feel like the problem with a lot of allegations that are talked about online is they get very terminally online. You know, people tend to completely go to the most extremes and they try to like virtue signal about it and they're like, oh my god, what happened was grooming. What happened was the worst possible thing ever. It's like, chill the fuck out, okay? Like, we could be normal and like be nuanced when discussing situations, all right? Let's chill out here. Like, I don't think what Shayy is doing is good here, but let's not fucking like be so morally loaded on this topic, okay? Let's not pretend like we're so morally loaded. Like, let's chill out a bit, all right? Like, let's calm down. All right, yeah, this Willie I don't care. This is just like a suggestive thing or whatever. I don't care. It's like nothing to me. All right, one page. Thank God. Holy fuck. Say from this Say person. Just one page. Thank fucking God. Hi, I'm Say, a writer for Calamity that used to work on Shayy on various projects involving it. I also moderated their Discord and Twitch chat before all this happened. As my contribution to all this, there's them trying to get me to specifically come over while Star is away, even clarifying that I visited both. Well, just to be clear, Shayy and Star are like, they're both, like, they agreed to be non-monogamous. We, like, read that from the Star Smiley thing. But yes, I totally love to come over you and visit, yada, yada, yada. You said you would love to come and visit. Girl, nothing happened to you. There's nothing here. This is like one page you showed like proof saying, oh yeah, they want to come visit and stuff or whatever. This is it. Like, yeah, no, like, I want to come visit. They agreed to be non-monogamous. There's nothing here. I'm sorry. We're skipping this. There's nothing here. There's actually nothing here. Okay. Testimony from this person named Jade's Evolution. In winter of 2023, I'd gotten a message from my fiance about how Shayy had DM'd it asking about sexual related things and that it was okay because they had permission to do so from Star and that because she's asexual, so we can have an outlet for sexual desires. I'll admit at the time, polyamory was still new to me, so the line at the time was what was acceptable wasn't entirely clear, but what was clear is Shayy then pressured my fiance into having e-sex and wanted to have more encounters with the fact. Okay, I'm gonna need to see evidence for that if that's true. Pressuring them? Like, what does pressuring mean? Does that mean that they were saying, hey, if you don't do this, I'm gonna fucking do something else or whatever? Or, like, I'm gonna do a specific action if they don't have sex with me or whatever? Or is pressuring just, like, talking and, like, trying to convince them? Because, like, that does matter. This, for the record, happened while I was unaware of what was going on because I only found out my fiance had told me after the fact. This situation made me feel betrayed and angry because there was no communication on the matter, and it almost ruined my relationship at the time with my soon-to-be wife. It was only after I had messaged Shayy about how shitty their actions were that they apologized and told me they'd properly asked for a line of communication when it came to sex, as there was no permission given to me, my fiance's, yada yada yada. Okay. For clarity, we were in a poly relationship, not an open one. Okay, so it seems like everything here is generally fine. Like, so far, this isn't really, like, striking me as, like, pressuring you into sexual acts. For clarity, okay, yeah, whatever, we read that. After all this, I tried to share my story, but I was buried under testimony that it was okay and that, they just do this eventually. Okay. This is a nothing burger. The Jade's Evolutions is also a nothing burger. There's nothing here. Prisma. I posted a clip in Clip's channel with Shayy making a joke about Gawk. Shayy proceeded to ping a femme person who wasn't happy about being called out. Just because you aren't wrong doesn't mean you have to call me out like that. Okay, I don't care about this. What am I supposed to do with this? This is fucking, like what? Why does this matter? Like, there's a ping. This could be interpreted as, like, a joke. You realize that, right? Okay, whatever. I don't care. It's like, I don't care. 16 pages. Oh my god. Jesus Christ. Okay. I think we just skim ahead. Is there, like, any legitimate thing here? They're just, like, talking or whatever. Okay, whatever. It's just, I don't care. It just seems like they consensually, like, flirted or whatever. Is there, like, any inappropriate age ranges I should be aware of here? The fact that I was having sex with Shayy. Okay. I was having sex with Shayy if I had known. Okay. But, I mean, just to be clear, the fucking, what was her name? Star Smiley or whatever. They're in, like, they're in a non-monogamous relationship. I don't care. It's like you guys had sex or whatever, and you guys talked about, like transgender issues or whatever, or trans femmes and stuff, and then, like, pronouns, and then, like, do the jokes or whatever. Okay, yeah, whatever. I don't care. This is like, I don't care about this. Like, whatever. We're moving on. We're moving on. Hi, I'm Xander, or Xander is a loser. A lot of you know me from both Shay's community and John Stone's community. I would consider myself a victim of Shayy, who began seeking me out for sexual interactions in September 2023 while I was away from PAX West. All our interactions were then consensual between us, with no impression that they were using me, at least for the first time. Oh, okay, I don't care. If they were consensual, if you're saying all your sexual interactions were consensual, I don't care. What the fuck? I'm moving on. Dude, so, like, we're reading a lot of nothing burgers here. Like, I don't know. I mean, like, Shayy is like a sexual deviant, but it's like, I don't know, man. Hi, this statement is going to be anonymous, so I won't bother introducing myself. I'm sorry this is taking me so long, but I'm dealing with a lot of emotions right now. Please, Shayy, I urge you to take this very seriously. I've been friends with Shayy for half a decade. I've seen what I thought was a personal growth. I've aimed to be there for times of need. I've seen them grow apart from friends and immediately be there to offer my support. They've likewise seen me go through many rough patches, cheating exes, suicidal ideation, medical issues I still don't want to bring up to the public. I've stood by them many times. I saw my friend of 5 years go through so much stress. I heard that they were going through so much, and I reached out to make sure they were all right. When this situation first came to light, I was so lost. I've seen the heartbreak they've experienced in relation to social abandonment, and I offered to be there for him. And then at least 2 more testimonials. At this point, I was tired. I came online, checked my friend group, and every hour a new person was opening up about their relationship with Shayy. I've read innumerable screenshots, and I've seen how often they try to ease people into changing a boundary or relenting in some way. I've seen people talk about them, how it took them 4 attempts to assert a boundary for Shayy to recognize it, and I understand for some time that a boundary was never enforced, since Shayy would often go cold if the conversation was not sexual in nature. Okay. At first, reading testimonials from my friends, my gut reaction was, I'm so fucking sorry, I trusted my friend. Okay. Is this, all this is gonna be, is just gonna be, like, you, like, reflecting on your friendship with Shayy? Is that what this all is gonna be? To my understanding, yada, yada, yada. Okay, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. Moving on. I don't care. Oh my god, how many more pages? This is 1 page. This is 5 pages. This is 8 pages. Hey, it's Slenderman. 1 page, 9 page, 2 pages, 1 page, 3 pages. Okay, so thankfully, like, most of these are generally short, but yeah. All right, anonymous number 2. I don't know if I would necessarily call myself a victim of Shayy, and I was extremely blind to a lot of their concerning behavior since I joined their community. I've only been able to realize how absolutely betrayed and huddled their actions have made me feel through recent testimonies from my friends and my own hindsight. I will say that their behavior towards me and my close friends has been insensitive at best and blatantly disrespectful, abusive, completely self-satisfying on their part at worst. So abusive is going to do a lot of heavy lifting here. Okay, I mean, there's no evidence in this document, so, or in this section of it. I've also had a lot of consensual sexual interactions with Shayy over the past couple of years. Oh, then I don't care. What? I had a lot of consensual sexual interactions. Oh, okay, I don't care. The fuck? If it was consensual, then who gives a fuck? Oh my god. Holy shit, dude. Content warning for sexual themes. My situation was around 2023 when Shayy had a whole thing of flavor of the week where I was the flavor of the week. They teased a lot in DMs and in live streams. In DMs, they also really wanted me to grow out my hair. I was not trans at the time, and I couldn't grow out my hair because family, so it was a bit uncomfy, and they had pushed me. I don't care about the hair thing. I just don't care about the fucking hair. Like, who cares about the hair thing? Yada, yada, yada. Pet master dynamic. Yada, yada, yada. Okay, there's more sex stuff. Doesn't matter. This doesn't matter. Okay. I hate talking about this because... Okay, this is anonymous number 5. I hate talking about this because I generally don't like talking about my sexual encounters or history. I would like to remain anonymous on this account because I fear I will be judged or harmed as a result of this released to the public. Yada, yada, yada. They would purposely ignore me or leave me out of conversations or certain discoveries or knowledge while not uttering my name while gassing up others. I don't care. I understood the reason for this, and while they never stated it to my face, the behavior started as I rightfully called them out for putting things in jeopardy with my current romantic relationship. Fast forward to this year. This was over a year's worth of behavior, and I had mostly distanced myself from that stuff, but still tried to maintain some sort of mild friendship because in many ways I'd felt pressured to be in an environment where they basically controlled what UTYDR information was promoted. I congratulated them for getting Deltarune in Summer Games Done Quick 2025, and we were happy catching up. I also brought up how I was happy to see that they had grown so much through their gender journey since I'd met them. We chatted a bit until they started sending me lots and lots of pictures. They were all thankfully cool, but some of them kept sharing photos expecting me to compliment them. I reluctantly said something nice, but never in depth because I didn't want to repeat of when they were treating you and I lashed out. Anyways, they started getting more and more quickly flirty with me until I stopped responding as quickly. They asked what else I was doing, and I said I was reading home. Oh god, you're a fucking terminally online homestruck kid. Oh my god. Those are the worst. which was a good way to change the subject. I thought I did. I did a usual thing of sharing my passions because I'm bad at shutting people out. Okay. I said I need to go to bed. From this point onwards, things got increasingly worse. Okay. Shayy was suddenly treating me a lot better, and I would get DMs more often. I realized in this hindsight doing this. Yada, yada. Okay. Eventually, we talked about how they got in a new house. Bringing up HRT. Okay, interesting. I admit I'm not leaving this sooner. About our sexual interests. Okay, whatever. Then this... Wait, hold on a second. Hold on. Okay. So you attended Summer Games. Our next conversations led to us sharing information about our sexual interests, and then, like, in my shitty, stupid, clouded mental state, I responded with everything I knew that would make them the most satisfied. I disclosed info about myself I never shared to anyone. Then we eventually agreed to potentially do something sexual. I act as partners. Okay, so at this point, you guys consented. That's pretty much what you're telling me here. At this point, we engaged in a single sexual act that, while concerning on its face, are fully consensual, and while I hate them in hindsight, I will not hold that against them. I agreed to it. Yeah, okay, so it's consensual. Well, there you go. After that day, it was nearly a daily asking for sexual favors after I'd say no. Once we finished the first time, after I stopped being comfortable with it, I was afraid if I said no, then the relationship would crumble again, so I tiptoed around it every time. This thankfully stopped after Deltarune came out. I mean, you gotta set harder boundaries than that. Like, you gotta give me something better than that, right? After every conversation afterwards involved some sort of play or sexual nicknames they gave me being used casually. It was really uncomfortable seeing these be used so often, but I was too scared to break a relationship, especially during a time like post or release Deltarune where it was sink or swim. This is when the second round of them constantly asking me to help them jack off began. So, okay, so what does that mean? Like, you're giving them a hand job. What does that mean? Were you guys, like, consensually doing it? They said that they were asking you to do it. Okay, fine. All right, fine. Except this time, they always had some cutesy remark to guilt me for not doing it. Like what? What did they say? They made me tell them to do it and beg me to do it, demand them when I'm really not that kind of person sexually. By mid-July, it had mostly stopped, but that was when they basically stopped caring about me. I mean, it seems like you're not setting harder boundaries, so I don't really care about this personally. This is not really... if you're alleging some form of, like, sexual assault here, I'm not seeing sexual assault here because you're not actually... I agree that, like, earlier in this document, Shayy has boundary issues, but most of the stuff that I'm seeing here, I gotta be honest, really is just, like, kind of a nothing burger. I'm not really seeing sexual assault here, personally, because, like, you definitely need to set harder boundaries about that sort of thing. After this, all sexual interaction stopped completely. Okay. Yada, yada, yada. Alright, cool. That's pretty much where Anonymous 5 ends. Oh, wow, just one page for Anonymous 6. Shayy forwarded me DMs constantly for months while in a monogamous relationship. I thought it was non-monogamous. What the fuck? I thought, like, him and, what is it, Star Smiley agreed to not be non-monogamous. That's literally what they agreed to. They also stared straight down at my chest for a noticeably long time at the first GDQ I went to and asked to give me 4 massages 4 times at GDQ while my partner was right there and while I said no repeatedly. Creepy uncle-ass behavior. Okay, that was kind of funny. I can't even lie. I expect at this point the only reason I don't have more instances of Shayy being creepy. Okay, so this instance is short and sweet and straight to the point, and obviously they can't really give proof because it happened in person. But if this is true, this could be a form of sexual harassment. So there you go. There is something in this part of it. You know, again, I don't think Shayy is, like, entirely innocent, but a lot of these allegations kind of just boil down to nothing burgers because a lot of people are just, like, not being normal about the situation and not, like, you know, putting the situation where it's at, you know what I mean? Meeting the situation where it's at. But yeah, this could be a form of sexual harassment, definitely. It's very weird. It's gross. Absolutely. I was one of Shay's old friends. I don't know if I was ever close to them or not, but they liked me enough to want to have e-sex with me. It would start at the very start of 2024, and at first I did enjoy it until I realized they were only reaching out to me for e-sex. The first time I noticed this was when I was out with my significant other. We were getting ice cream, and while eating, I noticed Shayy message me, and I got very excited because they never have done that before, and because they wanted to... Oh, God. Is this like... Okay. I mean, they might be using you for e-sex potentially. It's possible that Shayy is like fuckboying you, or I guess fuck non-binarying you. Is that like the term? Because you can't say fuckboy. You can't say like fuck girl either. So like, is it just fuck non-binarying? Is that like a term we're gonna be using now? Yada yada yada. Just used for sex. For some context, I was going through a massive depressive episode. Yada yada yada. Okay, I don't care about this. This is like fuckboy behavior. It's like whatever. Okay, cool. Do better, I guess. Hello, I am a former friend of Shay's staff, but I am choosing to keep my identity anonymous. In hearing and sharing experiences with others who have written testimonials with those who have had a lot to say, I began to wonder about an encounter I had with Shayy a couple months back. To set up some context, Shayy had a football server dedicated to fantasy football and watching each NFL game. Before that server existed, before December 2023, the watch sessions were hosted in their regular server, Frog Family. They were in basically every VC whenever a game was on. One day when Shayy started sexting me, this was recently within the last few months, I noticed that they were in a voice chat in the football server, unmuted, and they actively were streaming a game. At the time, I had assumed that they just set up a game on their computer and went somewhere separate. It was only when everyone started sharing testimonials about Shayy that occurred to me that they didn't want to leave. Maybe they were still active in the call. I asked people to stay in the football server. I asked around if Shayy sexted them. Sexted Shayy, yada yada yada. Okay. Is there sexting somebody? They sexted other people. Okay, cool. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Next. I've not been a victim of Shayy, nor was I a close friend. Regardless, I have reasons to believe that I personally have been affected by their sexual misconduct. Okay, sure. I'll hear you out. I would like to share my piece on it. This is anonymous number 9. Shayy had always acted condescending towards me in most conversations. That I wouldn't doubt. They definitely do seem like a bit of a condescending person, and they seem like when they get into arguments, they act super immature. So that I actually wouldn't doubt, quite frankly. Whenever we discussed something, it felt like they respected my opinions very little or treated me like crazy, often acting like the statements were absurd. I probably believe that, actually. That does track based off the proof that I saw. Admittedly, our relationship for a good period of time was strained due to things I did. However, I am plural, and Shayy never talked with quite the same tone that I did towards my headmates. Later, I would discover Shayy was attempting to invite my partner to their house while their own was out. Okay. Implying extremely heavily that they wanted to have sex with them. I never knew about any of this, and it brought me no small amount of disgust to know that they were trying to have sex with my significant other behind my back. That's shitty. So that's like a form of cheating or attempting to create like a home wrecking situation. That's not good. That's definitely bad. I mean, I don't personally care about cheating. That's something you have to deal with offline, but it's also shitty. Like, you shouldn't cheat, right? It's shitty. It's not like a forever condemnation thing though, so I'm not really like getting up in arms about it. Likely never intended to seek out consent for this. Well, I don't know. You don't know that. Well, from you maybe, I guess. I don't know. Our relationship has always been very clear too. There was absolutely no way Shayy was unaware of it. What I'm about to say is purely speculative. I have nothing to back this up other than the loose threads I have talked about in my testimony. However, I have reason to believe that due to the dynamics of this relationship, Shayy saw me essentially a subhuman property owned by its partner. Probably. I mean, Shayy was like a huge fuckboy, so I actually don't doubt this speculation. I would actually kind of agree with you. And I wouldn't doubt that like Shayy definitely used quite a bit of people here, and it was fuckboy behavior. But again, there are allegations that I'm more concerned with. They never took me seriously and saw no need for my consent when having sex with them. After all, to them, I was nothing more than a partner's pet. This vision was disgusting to acquire, and while I have nothing to back this up from them, I find it also likely that I find it a likely thought process from Shayy, whose brain is not only borderline rotten with porn, it's probably true because they are a bit of a sexual deviant, but also they had a track record of going after people in relationships. Either way, as I said, I have no real source to back this up, so I'll let your own opinion dictate on what you believe. All right. Well, I mean, so far it's like shitty behavior from in Anonymous 9's side of it, for sure. All right, 3 pages. Okay, all right. Hello, I'm a former moderator of Shayy's Discord and choosing to keep my name redacted for my own comfort. My own experiences corroborate what people have been saying, and I had sexual conversations and engagements with Shayy over the years. The implication that their partner Star was made aware of, and I'd agreed to such things. But they did, though. Just to be clear, they're non-monogamous. And, like, Star even said earlier that Shayy didn't have to fucking say anything to them or whatever. They didn't have to say when or who it was with or whatever. Just to be clear, they explicitly communicated that very clearly. So it doesn't, that doesn't matter. A while after we started talking to each other, Shayy had been using me for sexual gratification. I wouldn't doubt that, probably. Initially, I chalked up these feelings to my own insecurity and pushed them down as they came up at the time. I was going through a lot mentally and severely doubting myself. Basically, 90% of the conversations with Shayy, yada, yada, yada. Okay, obviously, on top of everything I've learned recently, this does not make me feel good. Okay, so you guys consensually fucking, sexted each other or whatever. This is, not a big deal. You shouldn't flirt with mods, though. That you don't want that headache, just to be clear. You shouldn't be, flirting with your own mods. That's a little bit, yeah. I was 17 when I showed up in Shayy's chat. About 18 months after, right when I turned 18, Shayy's tone shifted and got flirty really fast. Oh, I don't care. I don't care. Okay, so you're 18 when everything was happening. Okay. Interesting. So what happened here? Because apparently you feel violated. Can't believe people... What the fuck? Okay, sorry, I'm just skimming through this because there might actually be something worth talking about here, maybe. Things stayed pretty restricted to just compliments and things and DMs that I would ignore until Summer Games Done Quick 25. We were in our hotel room. I was showing Shayy a video on my phone, and they invited me over to sit with them. So I got up from my bed and sat next to Shayy for a bit. They very quickly put their arm around me and physically pulled me to lay down. Because I was very lucky and had a partner, my partner happened to be in the next room, the situation was interrupted very quickly, and they got me physically away from Shayy for the time being. I was so visibly uncomfortable. Okay, yeah, so that definitely was very weird. Again, this entire situation, it is very clear to me that Shayy just has extreme boundary issues. Shayy just does not give a fuck about other people's boundaries whatsoever. That is pretty fucking clear to me. Overall, based on everyone's testimony. I wouldn't doubt that. I think people are blowing this out of proportion just a little bit. And, fucking saying that, Shayy has had plenty of victims come forward. That's a bit disproportionate. I would say that there's definitely some serious stuff to cover in here, but there is a lot of it that's just huge slop. That's kind of just my overall take with it. This interaction definitely, I could see how it's a very uncomfortable interaction though. While they were in the bathroom, the topic of age came up at the table. Shay's exact words was, "I can't believe people your age are old enough to be pre-positioning me." Okay. I mean, yeah, I guess that is weird. But I mean, you're a legal adult, so again, I don't really care too much about that. At SummerGames.quick, some others went to Shay's hotel to say goodbyes. People were leaving early. During this, Shayy went to hug me, and they picked me up from my waist as they were holding me. Oh, okay. So you just had some uncomfortable encounters with them. That's really, what it comes down to. And, that's, again, Shayy, this is, a violation of boundaries for sure, but this isn't, a predatory encounter, just to be clear. This is just, a very weird, uncomfortable encounter. And that pretty much concludes all of the stuff from the Shayy document. So, what is my final take on all of this? Okay, so just to be clear, I would say that there is some substance in this document, specifically regarding some of the alleged sexual assaults that occur, because there are multiple alleged sexual assaults that occurred here, and if those are true, which definitely seem like they do have some level of credibility to them, just to be clear, because there's multiple people giving testimony to them, and there's multiple people coming forward with screenshots of them, I wouldn't doubt that they probably happened. And just to be clear, that's not me definitively saying whether it is or it isn't, because I don't think we're ever truly going to know if the sexual assaults did or didn't happen. We're never going to truly know. And that's just the unfortunate reality, because it's going to be a he said, she said kind of thing. I wouldn't doubt that they're true, just to be clear. I wouldn't doubt it. And that's not good. That's definitely, I would say the sexual assaults are the most, the biggest problem with all of this, just to be clear. Those are definitely the biggest problem that I would have with Shayy. And also, Shayy having extreme boundary issues and not caring about other people's boundaries, that is pretty bad. It does seem like that Shayy would have kept doing this had they not been stopped sooner. There was also some inappropriate interactions. 17 and 21, I would say, is the only one that's not a predatory age gap. 22 and 17 and 23 and 17. It could have been a predatory age gap depending on the context, but it seems like all that really happened was just like really awkward flirting, and then like Shayy got sexual after they turned 18. So I don't know, man. Like, I feel like 90% of this is just kind of nothing, but there is a small percentage of these allegations that do have some level of substance to them, and that's really my final take on this situation. Am I mad that Shayy is probably never going to be a content creator again? Probably not. I mean, based on everything that I've seen there, it seems like Shayy just doesn't know how to respect boundaries. And, you know, it just seems like that Shayy just doesn't seem to care about it. And if you're not going to care about other people's boundaries, I don't think you're responsible enough to be a content creator. You got to be a lot more responsible, especially when you're handling like minors as well in your spaces. Especially because you were getting to the point where you're getting older and older and you're still interacting with people that are like 17. And it probably would have kept happening if nobody stopped you from doing it. Generally speaking, I'm not going to be as morally outraged over this as other people will on Twitter, most likely. I'm not really as like butthurt about it, just because there's a lot of stuff that's like blown out of proportion here. But yeah, there is some substance here, and a lot of it's kind of just like nothing. That's really my final take on the situation, unless more comes out, and maybe I'll make it a follow-up video. Who knows?